Chapter 514. Everyone in the camp was anxious, and the higher-ups were not calm either. Feng Ting was the daughter of a concubine from the Feng family. Although she was not favored, she was still a child of the Feng family. It was a big deal that someone from the Feng family died in the camp. The Feng family was a super family with a long history. They had a high status in the ancient Eastern country. She was not a daughter of a concubine from a small family. How to explain this to the Feng family was a problem. Feng Tianqing was sad when he found out that Feng Ting was killed. No matter what, he had raised her for so many years. He had developed feelings for her even if she was a kitten or a puppy. How could he not be sad? Feng Juntian sighed. Although he could not be as close to Feng Ting as he was to his sister, Feng Wu, he would not treat her as an outsider. No matter what, Feng Ting's death made Feng Juntian and his son sad for a while. Feng Ting was killed by the Blood Clan. The reason for the appearance of the Blood Clan became an unsolved case. After Feng Ting's death, Feng Tianqing went to comfort his brother. Sometimes he would personally cook and accompany Feng Tianqing and Feng Juntian to eat and drink. A few days later, the battle between the humans and the Blood Clan became more intense. After the battle ended, another big incident happened in the human camp. The Feng family went missing that night. When Mingxi received news of Feng Wu's disappearance, he immediately sent out a large number of people to search for her, but to no avail. The other families in the camp also sent out their elite disciples to help search for the Feng family, but there was still no news at all. What happened that could make experts like Feng Tianqing and Feng Tianqing be taken away without a word? And Feng Wu, Feng Juntian, and Feng Yinran, these people with the surname Feng, were all missing. Their disappearance was just like the four great elders who had disappeared the earliest. Their disappearance was extremely bizarre. When Feng Wu woke up, she found herself hiding on the ground. Feng Tianqing and Feng Juntian were lying beside her. They were unconscious, and she did not know if they were injured or something. Feng Wu quickly reported what happened today. After today's battle, Feng Tianqing came to Feng Tianqing's tent to cook and asked Feng Yinran to call Feng Wu over to eat. Bao Bao went to Mingxi's place to help study the sealing enchantment. So Feng Wu followed Feng Yin to her father's tent alone. In the tent, everyone ate the food cooked by Feng Yinran and the soup she brought. After that, she didn't know anything. After Feng Wu recalled what had happened, Feng Tianqing and his son finally woke up. Where is this place? Why are we here? As Feng Tianqing had just woken up, he was still a little groggy, and his voice was a little hoarse. Father, are you all right? Feng Juntian had also just woken up, but his reaction was better than Feng Tianqing's. He didn't eat much for dinner, so his head wasn't as bad as Feng Tianqing's. Although Feng Wu ate the most because of her special physique, there were treasures like pure flames and pure swords in her body, so she naturally woke up the fastest. Moreover, she didn't have any adverse reactions, so she just took it as a nap. I'm fine, Juntian. Why are we here? Where's your little aunt and Yinran? Feng Tianqing saw that his children were by his side, so he was worried about the safety of his sister and niece. I also just woke up. I didn't see little aunt and Yinran. Feng Juntian shook his head. The father and son stood up with each other, but they found that they couldn't use any strength. The two immediately understood that they had been drugged. Xiao Wu, are you all right? Feng Juntian helped his father up and asked his sister, who was standing at the side in a daze with concern. I'm fine. Feng Wu shook her head to show that she was fine. After the Feng family's three father and son confirmed that there were no other injuries, they began to care about where they were. They walked around in a circle. This room was not very big, but it actually had a window. When they walked to the window to take a look, they found that it was actually a tall tower. The trees under the tower became small. No wonder the windows weren't even sealed. It turned out that even if there were windows, they couldn't escape. Now that they had lost their strength, it was impossible for them to escape before the drug wore off. The huge blood-red moon outside the window proved that they hadn't left the Blood Moon Forest. They didn't remember there being such a tall tower in the Blood Moon Forest. Where exactly were they? Could it be the father and son had the same guess in their hearts at the same time? It couldn't be, right? The father and son exchanged a look of disbelief. If it was really as they thought, Then how did they come to this place from the outskirts of the Blood Moon Forest? Just as the father and son were puzzled, Feng Wu had already walked to the door and pulled it open. With a creak, the door actually opened just like that. Feng Tianxing and his son widened their eyes in surprise. The door wasn't even locked. If this was really the place they guessed it to be, there was indeed no need to lock it up. They believed that once any human came here, they wouldn't be able to escape from this place alive. The three of them left the room where they were locked up and found a direction to walk forward slowly. They didn't see anyone else along the way. There was no need to lock the door, so there were no guards? How confident must they be to do that? The three of them started from the room where they were locked up and looked around this floor. They found that there was no one else on this floor other than the three of them. Thus, the three of them went to the next floor. They had just walked down the stairs when they heard a series of curses. Feng Tianxing, you traitor of the human race, kill me if you can. As long as I, Renza, am alive, I'll definitely expose your crimes to the public. After a series of curses, the person began a new round of curses. Although the curses didn't sound very energetic, the hatred in them was simply too obvious. He mentioned two names just now that attracted the attention of the father and son. One was Feng Tianxing, and the other was Renza. Renza! This person was actually Renza! Didn't Renza elope with a female vampire long ago? Why was he here and had such a deep hatred for Feng Tianxing? These questions appeared in the minds of Feng Tianxing and his son. They had actually thought of an answer, but they couldn't believe it was true. Feng Tianxing brought his son and daughter with him and walked into the room where Florence was being held captive. Renza's hands were chained up in the room. He looked like he was in so much pain that he had lost his shape. He was completely skin and bones. There were countless scars on his body. Many of these scars were caused by sharp weapons, and there were also many bite marks. These bite marks were unique to vampires. They were only two small dots, and one wouldn't be able to see them if one didn't look carefully. Chapter 5:15. Feng Tianxing brought his son and daughter and walked into the room where Luan Sa was locked up. Luan Sa's hands were chained up in the room. He looked like he was in so much pain that he had lost his shape. He was just skin and bones. There were countless wounds on his body. Many of these wounds were caused by sharp weapons, and there were also many bite marks. These bite marks were unique to the blood breeds. They were only two small dots, and one would not be able to see them if one did not look closely. The person who called himself Luan Sa had been locked up in this place for who knows how long. His hair was so tangled that it was longer than his waist. He did not know how long it had been since he last cleaned it. The beard on his face had already reached his chest. His clothes reeked of feces and urine because he had not changed for a long time. "You're humans?" Luan Sa's voice was filled with excitement. How many years had it been since a human finally came to this place? Luan Sa's eyes were red from excitement. "You're Luan Sa?" Feng Tianxing asked with uncertainty. He had never seen Luan Sa before, but he had heard that Feng Tianxing's senior brother was called this name. "You know me?" Luan Sa was a little surprised, but not too surprised. He was quite famous when he was guarding the barrier in Blood Moon Forest. It was not a big deal for people to know him. The outside world is saying that the successor fell in love with a blood breeds woman and helped the blood breeds break the barrier seal. He is a sinner of the human race. Feng Juntian said, "I am a sinner of the human race." Luan Sa suddenly laughed out loud. There was too much suppression and pain in his laughter. The one who said that I am a sinner of the human race is Feng Tianxing, right? That despicable bitch. What I regret the most in my life is that I did not discover her true colors earlier and did not kill that woman in time. Luan Sa roared in pain. "You're talking about Feng Tianxing. She is the Feng clan's first daughter. Why do you hate her so much?" Feng Tianxing did not reveal his identity and only probed. The Feng clan's first daughter. She was indeed the first daughter of the Feng family, but she was also a slut. This woman had an affair with the prince of the blood kindred and gave birth to a bastard. She used her identity as the realm protector to help the blood kindred find the weak point of the barrier. She helped the vampires come out of the barrier and slaughtered the common people outside the Blood Moon Forest. The four elders, Master, and I were killed because we discovered the true identity of her vile spawn. She drugged the food of the four elders, Master, and I, and sent us to the Blood Moon Forest. She pretended to spare our lives, but turned us into food for the vampires. Every day, the vampires would come to suck our blood. In the end, Master and the four elders couldn't hold on any longer and passed away. If I hadn't met you guys, this matter would have been buried underground forever, Florence said with a wry smile. Although the wry smile on his face was blocked by his beard, it did not prevent Feng Tianqing and the others from guessing his expression from Florence's tone of voice. Feng Tianqing's heart was already in turmoil. He simply could not believe his ears. His younger sister, who had been delicate and cute since she was young, was actually together with a prince of the blood kindred and had even given birth to his child. What was even more terrifying was that she even helped the blood kindred break the barrier seal. How could this be his sister? Tianqing? No, it's not like that. You must be talking nonsense. Tianqing has been a cute and kind girl since she was young. It's impossible for her to betray the human race. It's impossible. Even if he had some guesses in the beginning, Feng Tianqing still could not believe that the sister he had doted on for so many years was actually such a person. This matter was too big of a blow to Feng Tianqing. If it were not for Feng Wu and Feng Juntian supporting him, Feng Tianqing would have fallen to the ground and could not stand up. You're from the Feng family. Florence had already guessed Feng Tianqing's identity from his reaction. Florence really did not expect that after so many years of no one coming to this place, the only people he saw were Feng Tianqing's relatives. Yes, I'm Feng Tianqing's brother, Feng Tianqing. Tell me if what you said is true. It's impossible for my sister to betray the human race. You must have wronged her. Feng Tianqing, who had always been calm, almost could not take this blow. If even he had suffered such a deep blow, the blow to Feng Wuyo would only be even greater. Thinking of how sad his father would be when he found out about this, Feng Tianqing's heart ached. I've wronged her. After living in the Blood Moon Forest for so many years, I've only seen your sister wrongly accuse others. When has anyone ever wronged her? Florence smiled coldly. These people were Feng Tianqing's family. He could not guess what they wanted to do here. However, he knew that the probability of Feng Tianqing spreading the news about Feng Tianqing back to the human race was not high. With such a traitor in the Feng family, their reputation would probably plummet in the future. This matter was too damaging to the Feng family's reputation. He did not believe that Feng Tianqing would spread this matter. After all, Feng Tianqing was the head of the family. After the emotional roller coaster, he quickly adjusted his emotions. The sadness on his face was also wiped away. Little girl, how did you get here? Florence did not want to pay attention to Feng Tianqing anymore. He turned his attention to the only girl, Feng Wu. Feng Wu glanced at him, thought for a moment, and said, I don't know. We had a meal with Aunt Tianqing, then we woke up here. How did they get here? The Feng Wu girl expressed that she really did not know. Florence's eyes trembled when he heard this. Not good. You must leave here quickly. Feng Tianqing wants to take your blood to save his vile spawn. Speak clearly. What is going on? Feng Tianqing asked with a frown. You really don't know anything. Feng Tianqing's daughter is called Feng Yinran. Because she is a hybrid of human and vampire, she is destined to not live for long. If he wants his daughter to live, he must purify the other half of her human bloodline into the Feng family bloodline. What do you mean? Feng Tianqing asked. It is the purification of the bloodline. The Feng family bloodline in Feng Yinran's body is not strong or pure. This is also the reason why she did not live long. The bloodline of the blood clan will instinctively suppress the bloodline that is weaker than itself. I believe you know that ancient families like yours don't have ordinary bloodlines. Some people can inherit 30% of the bloodline, some can inherit 50%, and some can inherit 80%. The purity of your bloodline represents your future talent. Feng Yinran's bloodline purity is too low. If she wants to become 100% pure, she can only succeed by consuming the bloodline of her own family. The strongest person in your Feng family should be Grandpa Feng. I think Grandpa Feng should be the target that Feng Tianqing wants his daughter to devour the most. Grandpa Feng's body not only has pure demon power, but also a powerful bloodline. Once Feng Yinran devours these two things, then Feng Yinran's power will immediately reach the prince level, and she will most likely become the new Blood Emperor. Chapter 516. The strongest person in your Feng family should be Grandpa Feng. I think Grandpa Feng should be the target that Feng Tianqing wants his daughter to devour the most. Grandpa Feng's body not only has pure magic power, but also a powerful bloodline. Once these two are devoured by Feng Yinran, then Feng Yinran's strength will immediately reach the prince rank, and she will most likely become the new Blood Emperor. So it's like this. Feng Tianqing thought of Feng Ting's strange death. Could it be that Feng Ting he brought you all here? Could it be that Feng Yinran finally couldn't hold on any longer? Feng Tianqing had no choice but to act in advance and let Feng Yinran devour you all first before going to find Grandpa Feng Wu. Luo Sa was indeed Feng Tianqing's senior brother. He really understood that woman. Feng Tianqing still didn't know that the Feng family had already met with Luo Sa and talked so much. At the moment, she was helping Feng Yinran to take care of her injured lover, Aubrey. Aubrey was seriously injured in the battle with the vampires. It was Feng Yinran who brought him into the territory of the vampires to save his lover. Yinran, go rest for a while. Mother will help you look after him. Feng Tianqing lovingly patted her daughter's head and said gently, No, I want to take care of him myself. Just let me stay here and take care of him. Feng Yinran said with red eyes. All right. Fortunately, Feng Wu and the others have already been brought into the castle by Mother. As long as you devour their blood, your bloodline will become closer and closer to a pure blood. When that time comes, think of a way to devour Feng Tianjiao and your grandfather. Your bloodline will be completely developed, and you will become the new king of the Blood Clan. Feng Tianqing described the beautiful scene of Feng Yinran being crowned king in the future. The mother and daughter looked at each other and smiled. Feng Yinran, who was originally frowning, felt a lot better. But mother, uncle, cousins, and the others, do I really have to devour them? They are my family. I'm afraid I can't do it. Feng Yinran said unhappily. Be good. Don't be afraid, my child. Your uncle loves you the most. If he knows that his blood can save you, he will definitely be happy to help you. In Feng Tianqing's heart, since Feng Wuliu and Feng Tianqing loved Yinran so much, they shouldn't mind sacrificing a little for Yinran. If they truly loved her and Yinran, they should agree to help Yinran complete the bloodline purification without hesitation. If she didn't agree, it meant that their love for her and her daughter was fake. Then, she didn't need to care about the father-daughter relationship or brother-sister relationship anymore. They were not even willing to make a little sacrifice for her daughter. How could she believe that their feelings for her were real? Feng Tianqing thought as a matter of course. In Feng Tianqing's mind, if he loved her and cared about her, he should do everything for her. If he knew that she loved her daughter, he should let her daughter devour her unconditionally. That was how he loved her. If he didn't want to do it, it meant that he didn't love her. In the past, he was just a hypocrite. There was no reason to treat such a person as family. She could just let Yinran devour him. Anyway, whether the father and son of the Feng family agreed or not, there was only one result. He would be devoured by Feng Yinran. If the father and son of the Feng family knew about her strange thoughts, they would probably vomit 3 liters of blood. At this time, a soft moan suddenly came from the bed. When Aubrey opened his eyes, he saw Feng Yinran looking at him worriedly. Holding her little hand, Aubrey wanted to say that he was fine, but it caused a series of coughs. Come, don't talk. Drink some water to moisten your throat. She hurriedly poured a cup of water for Aubrey. Feng Yinran carefully put the cup next to Aubrey's mouth and fed him. After drinking the water, Aubrey felt much better. His throat didn't feel so uncomfortable. Yinran, where is this place? Why are we here? Only then did Aubrey realize that they were not in the human camp, but in a luxurious room. Such a room would never appear in a human camp. He had heard that even the prince of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom lived in an ordinary room. This is where my father lives? Feng Yinran lowered her little head, not letting him see the uneasiness in her eyes. She didn't know if Aubrey would still like her or leave her if he found out about her identity as the princess of the blood kindred. Didn't your father pass away? Everyone in the school knew about Feng Yinran's background. Her father was a hero who fought against the blood kindred. Later, he passed away in a fight with the blood kindred. Since then, Feng Yinran could only rely on her mother. This matter was known by all the teachers and students in the school. It was not a secret. I'm sorry. I actually lied to you. My father is not dead. He has always been alive. It's just that his identity might not be accepted by everyone. That's why Mother lied that my father had died. In fact, my father has always been living well. Feng Yinran whispered. Let me say it. Feng Tianqing knew that his daughter was too old to have the courage to tell the truth, so he planned to say it on behalf of his beloved daughter. If this man could not accept his daughter's identity, it meant that this man was not worthy of love. There was no need to keep a person who was not worthy of love. He would be handed over to the child's father to deal with. Aubrey didn't know what he was about to face. If he showed any dissatisfaction, Feng Tianqing would definitely not let him live. Teacher Tianqing, you're here too. Aubrey saw that Feng Tianqing was also in the room and said with some surprise. Of course Teacher is here. If Teacher wasn't here, do you think a little girl like Yinran could save you? Feng Tianqing said jokingly. Thank you, Teacher Tianqing, for saving me. Aubrey thanked Feng Tianqing very politely. Feng Tianqing nodded, more and more satisfied with Aubrey. Teacher, what did you want to tell me? It's about Yinran's father, Feng Tianqing said. After she finished speaking, she suddenly turned to look at the door. The smile on her face became more and more brilliant. My dear, you're here. Feng Tianqing's voice had a hint of feminine charm. Her eyes were so soft that it could drip water. I'm here. Is this the young man that Yinran likes? A handsome man in black appeared at the door. His appearance was exquisite and beautiful, and his temperament was even more noble. At a glance, one could tell that he had a good background and had received a very strict education. This was why he could make his every move seem as if it had been measured with a ruler. It's him. Isn't he a very cute little boy? Our Yinran's taste has always been good, Feng Tianqing said proudly. The black-clothed man, Prince Nicholas, walked to Feng Tianqing's side and gently held her waist with a gentle smile. Chapter 517. The man in black, who was Prince Nicholas, walked to Feng Tianqing's side and gently hugged her waist with a gentle smile. Nicholas sized up the young man and nodded with satisfaction. This young man is quite talented. He's a good match for our Yinran. Nicholas was one of the blood race princes and led tens of thousands of blood race members. His strength could be ranked in the top 3 among the blood race princes and was equivalent to a peak warlock saint. Aubrey felt a little strange. Yinran's father was too good-looking, and he had a strange, evil aura about him. Although he thought so, he did not show it on his face at all. Nicholas was even more satisfied with Aubrey and secretly nodded in his heart. Aubrey was about to ask something else, but unexpectedly, there was a commotion outside the door. What happened? Feng Tianqing asked. Nicholas smiled evilly. Nothing much. It's just that you caught a few small fish and wanted to sneak away. Feng Tianqing immediately understood what had happened. Her expression did not change as she looked at Nicholas and laughed heartily. If it wasn't for the fact that this castle was an absolutely safe place, she wouldn't have let them in without locking the door. Her brother and her 2 nephews and nieces thought too simply of this place and actually wanted to escape. Bring them in? Nicholas instructed the door, and immediately, 2 beautiful blood race members brought Feng Wu's family of 3 in. When Aubrey saw the Feng family members who were brought in, he was instantly dumbfounded. Wasn't this the Feng family head and young Master Feng Juntian? He had seen the other girl from afar once. Yinran said that she was her cousin. But what was going on now? Why were Yinran's cousin and the Feng family head and father brought in like this? Tianqing, you really colluded with the blood race. I didn't want to believe it at first, but now I have no choice but to believe it. Feng Tianqing looked at Feng Tianqing in disappointment. He could still deceive himself when he did not see anyone. He had a glimmer of hope, but after seeing Feng Tianqing, even his last glimmer of hope disappeared. Brother, Nicholas and I are truly in love. I only help my husband. There's no need to talk about collusion. Feng Tianqing leaned into Nicholas' arms and smiled happily. Are you crazy? The blood clan lives on blood, and we humans are food to them. He will suck your blood dry. Feng Tianqing couldn't help but roar. Nicholas would never harm me. We have been together for so many years. If he wanted to suck my blood, he would have done so long ago. There is no need for him to wait until now. He loves me so much. He would never bear to do anything to hurt me. Feng Tianqing looked at Nicholas affectionately. You're right. I would never hurt the woman I love, Nicholas said affectionately. The husband and wife looked at each other affectionately. If it wasn't for the wrong background, it would have been a beautiful scene. Feng Yinran looked at her parents, moved. She had envied her mother for being loved by her father since she was a child. She had always hoped to find a man who loved her so much. Now she finally fell in love with a man. She hoped that Aubrey would love her as much as her father loved her mother. Aubrey didn't know what Feng Yinran was thinking at the moment. He was already stunned by the information revealed by Feng Tianqing. Yinran's father was actually a blood clan member. No wonder he felt that Yinran's father was strange. He was actually a blood clan member. Feng Tianqing, you are simply crazy. Feng Tianqing knew that it was useless for him to say anything more. He could only look at the sister he was once proud of in disappointment. He felt that his cute sister would never come back. What do you want to do by capturing our family? Feng Tianqing didn't try to persuade him anymore. He just wanted to confirm one last time whether the sister he had doted on since she was a child really didn't care about their sibling relationship and wanted their whole family to die. Brother, Yinran has always been tormented by illness because of the conflict between our bloodlines. Now, only the purest bloodline of the Feng clan can save her. Brother, don't you love Yinran the most? You don't want to see her die, right? As long as you offer your bloodline to Yinran, Yinran can live. You will save Yinran, right? Brother, you love her so much and you love me so much. You will definitely save her, right? Feng Yinran said to Feng Tianqing with a face full of expectation. You only want me to offer my bloodline. Then why did you capture Jun Tian and Xiao Wu? Feng Tianqing said coldly. When Feng Tianqing said those words, his heart had already turned cold. Of course they have to offer their bloodline. Jun Tian, Yinran is your cousin. As her brother, you should sacrifice for her, right? Xiao Wu, Yinran is your cousin. You can't bear to see her die, right? You are the younger sister. You will definitely protect your elder sister, right? Feng Juntian and Feng Tianqing didn't know how to communicate with Feng Tianqing. No matter what, the logic was on her side. Her Yinran was her life. It was natural for others to sacrifice for her daughter. Only a selfish person could say such words. She is not my elder sister. Feng Wu had never thought of Feng Yinran as her elder sister. She only had a brother and no elder sister. Xiao Wu, you are not a good child when you don't care about your family. Feng Tianqing's eyes flashed with a cold light. Family? Is there any family between us? Feng Wu looked back at her father in confusion. How come she didn't know that she was related to Feng Tianqing and her mother? Feng Wu couldn't figure it out no matter how she thought about it. Feng Tianqing laughed. You are right, but there is no such thing. This family relationship had been personally cut off by Feng Tianqing. No matter how much he loved Feng Tianqing, he wouldn't let her hurt his own children for Feng Tianqing. Feng Tianqing's expression changed and her eyes turned cold. You are not even willing to help with such a small matter. It seems like there is no more family between us. Feng Juntian was a little speechless. Asking them to give up their lives was just a small matter. Then what was a big matter? Aubrey, you have seen it all, right? Tianqing's father is the blood kindred's prince. Tianqing is the daughter of Nicholas and I. She has the bloodline of both the blood kindred and the human race, but because of the defect in her bloodline, she will not live for long. The only way to save her is to absorb the bloodline of other people in the Feng family and improve Yinran's bloodline. This way, she will be able to live for a long time. I hope you will not dislike my daughter just because she has the bloodline of the blood kindred. She is a brave and kind girl and has never liked to drink human blood. She is so kind that she does not want to hurt anyone. Now that she has finally fallen in love with someone, I hope my daughter can be as happy as I am. Aubrey, Can you treat my daughter well? Feng Tianqing walked to Feng Yinran's side and held her daughter's hand, looking at Aubrey expectantly. Aubrey looked at the beautiful girl in front of him. He had always known how kind and cute Yinran was. So what if she was a descendant of the blood kindred? He had never seen Yinran drink other people's blood. She was such a kind girl. How could he not want her just because she was a blood kindred? Chapter 5:18. Feng Tianqing walked to Feng Yinran's side and held his daughter's hand, looking at Aubrey expectantly. Aubrey looked at the beautiful girl in front of him. He always knew how kind and cute Yinran was. So what if she was a descendant of the blood kin? He had never seen Yinran suck other people's blood. She was such a kind girl. How could he abandon her just because she was a blood kin? Teacher Tianqing, don't worry. My love for Yinran won't change no matter what happens. Even if she has the blood of the blood kindred, I won't stop loving her. Aubrey looked at Feng Tianqing solemnly. Feng Tianqing nodded with satisfaction, secretly praising his daughter's taste. Feng Yinran looked shyly and emotionally at the man she loved deeply. She rejoiced for herself. She did not make the wrong choice. Aubrey was the one who was worthy of her devotion. This happy scene was indeed very touching. A human youth was inseparable from his beloved. It did not matter if his lover was a human or a bloodkin. As long as the person he loved deeply, it did not matter. This was a great love. If it were a few other people who acted out this scene, Feng Tianqing and the others might be moved. However, the people who acted out this scene were Feng Yinran's family. Feng Tianqing and his son did not have any good feelings other than the disgusting feeling of swallowing a fly, let alone being moved. Feng Wu watched it as if it were a musical, and she enjoyed it very much. These lines were also in the book her mother showed her last time. Were they acting according to the book? Feng Wu and Feng Tianqing stood on the side and watched the show without saying a word. At the same time, some people sneaked into the bloodkin without them noticing. This group of people included Feng Tianjiao, Ming Shi, Skycliff, and Ajur. The four of them had the same goal. They all wanted to go in and find Feng Tianqing and his son, as well as Feng Yinran and her daughter. When the rest of the Feng family disappeared, Feng Tianjiao had already guessed that Feng Tianqing could not help but make his move. It was time for her to make her move. Feng Tianqing, do you know how long I have been waiting for this day? Since the day my mother left, I have been waiting for the moment to kill you with my own hands. That moment is not far away. With Bao Bao's help, Ming Shi and the others successfully entered the blood breed's territory. Their human scent was successfully concealed. As long as they were careful, they would not be discovered by the blood breeds. Xiao Wu, you must wait for me. I will come to save you soon. Wait for me, Ming Shi? Feng Wu looked out of the window in confusion. She seemed to have heard Ming Shi's voice just now. The drama of Feng Yinran's family was finally collected. Feng Yinran was now hugging Aubrey with a happy face. Feng Tianqing then turned his attention back to his family. Big brother, actually, I don't want to hurt you. How about this? Hand Feng Yi over to me, and I'll let you go. Feng Tianqing had heard from Feng Yinran that Feng Yi alone was equivalent to the sum of everyone in the Feng family. As long as she devoured Feng Ye's bloodline, Yinran would directly become the Blood Emperor. There was no need to go through so much trouble and think of a way to make a move on her father and Feng Tianjiao. It was easier to make a move on her father because her father trusted her. No matter what she did, her father would not suspect her. At that time, all she needed to do was to incapacitate him, and everything would be solved. The troublesome one was Feng Tianjiao. Feng Tianjiao did not trust her. It was very difficult to obtain the bloodline power from Feng Tianjiao. If she was lucky, after Yinran devoured her father's bloodline, she might be able to succeed. If she was unlucky, she would have to make a move on Feng Tianjiao. Xiao Yi. Feng Tianqing's eyes widened in surprise. You actually dare to have ideas about Xiao Yi. They were too bold. Feng Tianqing wanted to ask them, you guys are so arrogant. Why don't you go to heaven? You even want to devour the Elf King. Is there anything you don't dare to do? Feng Juntian was also dumbfounded. No matter how he thought about it, he could not understand why Feng Tianqing was in such a hurry to court death. Who was Xiao Yi? That was the Elf King. The Elf King was the first divine spirit in this world other than the god of creation. He was an existence protected by the world's consciousness. If they dared to devour the Elf King's bloodline power, the world's consciousness would jump out and devour them. Feng Wu's reaction was the most normal. She shook her head. I won't give it to you. Xiao Yi is my son. The Feng Wu girl did not want Xiao Yi to be taken away by this bad woman. Feng Wu could tell that Feng Tianqing wanted Feng Yinran to devour the three of them. Now he wanted to devour Xiao Yi. Feng Yinran's appetite was too big. If she ate so much, she would get a stomachache. Feng Wu thought seriously in her heart. Xiao Yi is still young. There's only one of him. Even if you let Feng Yinran devour him, she won't be full. Very good. This girl understood the word devour to mean eating someone directly. Feng Tianqing thought that Feng Wu was deliberately causing trouble for him. It's fine if you don't want to hand Xiao Yi over. I know you have a life spatial ring on your hand. This spatial ring can store any life form. You've been raising Xiao Yi in it, right? It's fine if you don't give it to him. When you die, this spatial ring will have no owner. At that time, anyone can open it. Feng Tianqing's meaning was very clear. No matter what they chose, he had a way to get Xiao Yi. Feng Tianqing, you really don't have any humanity. Feng Tianqing thought of Feng Tianjiao. Feng Tianjiao always said that her mother's last wish was for her to kill Feng Tianqing and stop him from destroying the entire Feng family. In the past, he and his father had never believed Feng Tianjiao's words. They always thought that it was because the heavenly demon was jealous that his sister was favored. So he wanted to kill her ruthlessly and made up such an absurd reason. Bang! Nicholas waved his hand, and Feng Tianqing was instantly sent flying to the wall. When he fell from the wall, he immediately spat out a large mouthful of blood. He had suffered heavy injuries. Father! Feng Juntian yelled worriedly and hurriedly ran over to support Feng Tianqing. Feng Wu followed closely behind. She was very worried about her father's injuries. Feng Juntian wanted to take out a bottle of medicine from his spatial ring for his father to consume. When he wanted to use his battle energy to open the ring, he remembered that they had already been drugged by Feng Tianqing. They couldn't use their battle energy at all. They had no medicine to heal their injuries and no fighting energy to protect themselves. Their situation was already so bad. At this moment, Feng Wu took out a bottle of medicine and fed it to Feng Tianqing. Feng Juntian was shocked. Where did this medicine come from? They clearly couldn't use their battle energy. After Feng Tianqing drank the medicine, his originally pale face finally regained some color. His injuries had recovered quite a bit. Chapter 519. At this moment, Feng Wu took out a bottle of medicine and fed it to Feng Tianqing. Feng Juntian was shocked. Where did this medicine come from? They were clearly unable to use battle energy. After Feng Tianqing drank the potion, his pale face finally regained some color. His injuries had recovered quite a bit. Feng Juntian did not see how Feng Wu took out the medicine, but Feng Tianqing and the others saw it. When they saw that Feng Wu could still use her spatial ring, they were all shocked. The medicine that Feng Tianqing used was not an ordinary medicine. This was a medicine that the Blood Clan used to deal with humans. As long as a human consumed this medicine, all of their powers would be sealed. Once consumed, they would be unable to use their powers for 7 days. In the human world, there were still some forbidden areas that forbade magic and martial arts. Once one stepped into these forbidden areas, they would lose their powers and could only struggle in the forbidden area like an ordinary person. There were 2 or 3 such forbidden areas, but there were not many medicines that could seal one's powers and battle energy. Almost all of them were no longer seen in public. In the Great War in ancient times, many precious magic medicines were destroyed. The Blood Clan's collection of this demon-sealing medicine was also very precious. Under normal circumstances, the Blood Clan would not use it. In addition, this medicine did not take effect through the air. It had to be consumed. This was a little troublesome. A person who could be poisoned by a Blood Clan member would at least be a warlock saint. However, how could a warlock saint's diet be so easy to get close to? Hence, this medicine was actually a little useless. However, with the addition of Feng Tianqing's family over the past few years, This medicine had found a place to be useful. Feng Tianqing had not only used this medicine to kill the four elders, but also his own master. Other than a senior brother who was still struggling at death's door, everyone else had been killed. Now that he had tricked Feng Tianqing's family again, this kind of medicine, which was useless among the vampires, had found a chance to shine. This medicine was very effective, and it was impossible for it to be neutralized before the time was up. How was Fengwu able to use her battle energy to open her spatial ring? Feng Tianqing could not understand. She had experimented with this medicine many times. There should not be any problems with it. You can actually use your battle energy. Nicholas was also shocked. No one knew better than him how effective this medicine was. This was the first time he had seen someone who could neutralize the effects of this medicine. Why not? Fengwu blinked, also puzzled. She could always use her Do Qi, with Xiaoqun and Pure Flame, which were both purifying treasures. Any poison should be ineffective against her. However, Feng Tianqing had used a strong knockout drug at the beginning, and because Xiaoqun was in the midst of advancing, he did not immediately remove the drug's effects. Pure Flame was also a reckless person. Seeing that Fengwu's life was not in danger, it did not care either. It wasn't until Fengwu was fed the magic sealing potion while she was unconscious that Pure Flame helped Fengwu get rid of the potion's effects. Therefore, the magic sealing potion in Fengwu's body had long lost its effect. It was just that Feng Tianqing and the others were too confident in the potion's efficacy and did not test it out. Interesting. I didn't think that there would be such an unexpected person among the humans. If it wasn't for the fact that my daughter needs your bloodline power to become the Blood Emperor, I could have kept you to study and see what's different about your physique. Nicholas attributed the reason why Fengwu was not affected by the potion's effects to Fengwu's special physique, which was why the magic sealing potion had no effect on her. Xiao Wu, Annie didn't know you had such abilities. Hiding it from Annie really surprised her. Feng Tianqing walked to Nicholas's side and said with a smile. However, that smile did not reach his eyes. Fengwu turned her head and ignored Feng Tianqing. In Fengwu's eyes, Feng Tianqing had already become a villain in a novel. He was a bad person. She did not want to care about them. Feng Tianqing did not care about what she thought. He just looked at Fengwu. Xiao Wu, have you thought it through? If you hand Xiao Yi over, Annie will definitely let your family of 3 leave. Otherwise, don't even think about taking a step out of this Blood Moon forest. Feng Tianqing said coldly and threateningly. Although she knew that Fengwu could use Do Qi, she did not take it to heart. She was just a mere second-year brat. Even if she could use Do Qi, it was impossible for her to cause any harm to them. As long as that potion was to make it easier to take away Feng Tianqing and Feng Juntian, Fengwu's strength was never in Feng Tianqing's eyes. Just like that concubine's daughter, Feng Ting. To Feng Tianqing, other than being her daughter's medicine, there was nothing special about her. When she made a move against Feng Ting that day, Feng Ting's weak strength did not pose any threat to the mother and daughter. Since she did not take Feng Ting seriously back then, she would also not take Fengwu seriously today. They were just 2 little brats. What was there to be afraid of? No. Fengwu bit her lips and said firmly, "Bad girl, you still want to eat Xiao Yi." Fengwu clenched her small fists. "If she dares to make a move, I'll hit her." Looks like Xiao Wu wants Anne to do it herself. Feng Tianqing's smile did not reach her eyes, and her fingertips emitted a cold light. "I'm not afraid of you," Fengwu said seriously with a stern face. Xiao Wu, Feng Tianqing, and his son were extremely worried. However, they could not use Do Qi, so they could only be anxious at the side. This was the territory of the blood breeds. Even if they all recovered their strength, they were not confident that they could leave this place safely. After all, there were tens of thousands of blood breeds living here. They were afraid that before they could find a way out, they would be devoured by the blood breeds they met along the way. Although Xiao Wu had Do Qi on her, the possibility of her escaping was still not high. However, they could not care so much now. The father and son exchanged glances. No matter what, they had to let Fengwu leave this place first. At most, they would fight with their lives to buy some time for Fengwu. Whether she could escape or not would depend on her luck. You are indeed a girl of my Feng family. However, you're a little unruly. Let Aunt, as your elder, teach you the rules." As he spoke, he walked towards Fengwu step by step. Nicholas watched from the side with a smile, and there was a trace of affection in his eyes. Feng Yinran and Aubrey stood together in fear, and they did not intend to stop him. Teacher Tianqing had already said that Yinran needed their dou qi to survive. For Yinran, he had no other choice. Turning his face away, Aubrey convinced himself to pretend that he did not see it. In the beginning, his family did not even ask him and helped him to marry a noble lady that he did not like at all. He had already lost his heart to that family. It was not easy to meet a girl that he truly loved. This time, he would not let go no matter what. Feng Yinran was a little nervous. She felt a little sorry for her uncle's family, who had always treated her well. However, if she wanted to live, she needed the pure dou qi of the Feng family to balance the dou qi in her body. Father said that the dou qi in her body was very pure and very rare. As long as she had the same pure dou qi of the human race, when the two kinds of dou qi reached a balance, she would be able to have the powerful strength of the dou qi and the unlimited potential of the human race at the same time. In order to survive, although she was sorry for her uncle, she could only do this. "Sorry, uncle. When Yinran has children in the future, I will definitely let one of them inherit the dou qi of the Feng family. I will never let the dou qi of the Feng family be cut off. So go in peace. Fengwu, Brother Jun Tian, and Uncle, Yinran is sorry for you. But I want to live more." Feng Yinran secretly said sorry in her heart. But on the surface, she stared at Fengwu with fiery eyes. She knew that Feng Yi, that little thing, had been following Fengwu. From the first time she saw Feng Yi, she suspected that Feng Ye's physique was not simple. She had never seen a child with such pure power. She felt that as long as she absorbed that child, she would be able to obtain great power. That power would only be stronger than absorbing the blood of everyone in the Feng family. Feng Tianqing, I didn't expect Feng Yinran to be the bastard child of you and a dou qi. Mother was right. You are the bane of the Feng family. Feng Tianjiao held a long sword and walked into the room step by step. Following behind Feng Tianjiao were the three boys, Ming Shi, Skycliff, and Ajur. Ming Shi and Ajur were immediately relieved after seeing that Fengwu was fine. Ajur walked to the wall and helped Feng Tianqing up. Seeing that Feng Tianqing was injured, he found a better medicine for him to take. "Xiao Wu." Ming Shi rushed to Fengwu's side and worriedly checked Fengwu's injuries. "Feng Tianjiao, you are really bold. You even brought the next monarch of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. I really have to thank you for this gift. When he was in the human camp, I couldn't do anything to him. Once he left the camp and entered the territory of the dou qi, even if he is the descendant of the four monarchs of the human race, he would still be able to escape. The descendants of the four monarchs all had the divine blood. Absorbing the blood of the four monarchs would definitely be beneficial for Feng Yinran. As for the consequences of the death of one of the future monarchs, Feng Tianqing didn't care about it. I never thought of escaping. Feng Tianqing, you colluded with the dou qi to murder your own kind. This crime is unforgivable. We have the right to kill you on the spot." Ming Shi's eyes flashed with killing intent. He rarely wanted to kill someone like this. Feng Tianqing was definitely one of the rare few. "Kill me. You actually think you can kill me in the territory of the dou qi? I say, Your Highness, have you been praised too much that your brain has gone stupid? There are tens of thousands of dou qi here. I only need to give the order for them to rush in. Each of them can drown you with a mouthful of saliva. How can you kill me?" Feng Tianqing laughed loudly. There was a hint of playfulness in his smile. Even Nicholas looked at Ming Shi with contempt. He felt that he was a prince who didn't understand the situation. Saying such big words when the enemy was strong and he was weak was simply brainless. It seemed that this immature moon monarch wasn't that great after all. "You can try and see if I can kill you." Ming Shi didn't say anything else and only replied with this sentence. Feng Tianjiao took a step forward and said, "Your Highness, you can't steal my words. Feng Tianqing's life is mine. From the day my mother died, I swore to kill Feng Tianqing." Chapter 520. Even Nicholas looked at Ming Shi with disdain. He felt that Ming Shi was a prince who didn't know what was going on. To say such big words when the enemy was strong and he was weak, he was simply brainless. It seemed that this immature Moon Emperor wasn't that great after all. You can try and see if I can kill you. Ming Shi didn't say anything else and only replied with this sentence. Feng Tianjiao stepped forward and said, "Your Highness, you can't steal my words. Feng Tianqing's life is mine. Since the day my mother died, I swore that I would kill Feng Tianqing. Feng Tianjiao, since we were young, you have plotted against me many times. I haven't settled the score with you yet, but you came running here yourself." Feng Tianqing looked at her sister coldly. The two of them didn't have any sisterly affection since they were young. Not only that, they were like fire and water. When her mother was alive, she only loved her sister. After her mother died, her father and brother doted on her. She thought that Feng Tianjiao would be jealous that she was doted on by her father and brother. However, when she looked at Feng Tianjiao, she found that Feng Tianjiao's eyes didn't have a trace of envy, not to mention jealousy. There was only killing intent in her eyes. Feng Tianjiao really wanted to kill her. It seemed that after her mother died, she wasn't interested in anything other than killing her. She didn't even care about her father and brother. Mother's last wish was to kill you, a jinx, and protect the glory of the Feng family. I promised my mother that I would kill you, and I won't go back on my words. If you didn't hide in the Blood Moon Forest, I would have already killed you. She knew that the reason Feng Tianqing hid in the Blood Moon Forest was to avoid her assassination. However, her father and brother thought that she had even killed her own sister and were completely disappointed in her. They kept her in the ancient Eastern country and sent people to monitor her every move. Once they found out that she had any intention of leaving the ancient Eastern country, they would immediately send people to capture her. That was why Feng Tianqing was able to live freely in the Blood Moon Forest for so many years. Mother, just because of that woman's words, you hated me and chased me for so many years. You even chased me to the Blood Clan's castle to kill me. Sister Tianjiao, you are still as impulsive as when you were young. With such an unlikable personality, it's no wonder that other than that woman, father and brother don't like you. Do you think I care whether they like me or not? After so many years, I thought you would have understood long ago. Feng Tianjiao said, in your heart, you really only care about that woman. You don't care about anyone else. Feng Tianqing shook her head and sighed. Because she didn't care, she didn't get the pleasure of taking revenge on her sister through her father and brother. Tianqing, that's our mother. You actually called her that woman. If father finds out, he definitely won't forgive you. Feng Tianqing helped Ajur and Feng Juntian up from the ground. Mother! That woman wasn't my mother. Which mother would want to kill her own daughter? Even after she died, she still left behind a will for Feng Tianjiao to kill me. Fortunately, you and father didn't believe Feng Tianjiao's words. If you did, I wouldn't be alive now. Ming Shi and the others stood at the side and listened for a long time. They finally understood a little. The old madam of the Feng family had already given the order to take her second daughter's life. There was actually a mother who wanted to kill her own daughter. That old madam of the Feng family was also a ruthless character. Not everyone would be able to do something to their own child. Even if she really divined that their child was a jinx, how many parents would be able to do it? Should it be said that she was indeed worthy of being the madam of the family? She was decisive and didn't show any mercy. If the old man of the Feng family and Feng Tianqing were able to do it back then, there probably wouldn't be today's matter. Ming Shi and the others sighed in their hearts. They didn't expect that although the Feng family was simple, such a thing would happen within the family. So mother really did leave behind a will for us to kill you. When Feng Tianjiao said that her mother had left behind such a will, he and father didn't believe it. They only thought that Tianjiao didn't want Tianqing to stay and share her love, so she said a malicious lie. They didn't expect it to be true. Was it because he and father didn't believe Tianjiao back then that things turned out like this? Feng Tianqing smiled bitterly. If they had killed Feng Tianqing earlier, so many innocent people wouldn't have died. Just like what their mother said, Feng Tianqing was indeed the jinx of the Feng family. She did say that. Didn't Feng Tianjiao also tell you? It's you who didn't believe it. Back then, the father and son of the Feng family stood in front of her unwaveringly to protect her. It really touched her, but so what? Their family owed her everything. They were both her daughters. Feng Tianjiao was the daughter of heaven, and she was the jinx of the Feng family. Since they all said that she was a jinx, then she would be a jinx for them to see. She would destroy everything in the Feng family, just like that woman said. Didn't that woman say that she would destroy the Feng family? Then she would destroy it for her to see. Yes, father and I didn't believe it. It was too late to believe it now. Dear, don't talk nonsense with them. Let's do it. Nicholas wasn't interested in watching these people talk endlessly. These people were all his daughter's blood food. There was no need to talk so much nonsense with a few blood food. I'll listen to you, dear. Feng Tianqing turned around and smiled affectionately at Nicholas. Nicholas looked up to the sky and roared. He wanted to call the other blood breeds to capture these intruders, but he realized that no matter how he shouted, not a single one of his subordinates came to respond. What did you do? Nicholas' handsome face was ashen. He was sure that there was no battle outside. If there was a fight outside, it was impossible for him to not notice it. The blood breeds were the most sensitive to blood. Once the smell of blood wafted out, it was impossible for him not to notice it. I just set up a barrier so that the blood breeds outside won't notice the abnormality here. Ming-Shi said calmly. As expected of the Moon Emperor, who has the strongest barrier power. He actually managed to set up this barrier without alerting me. Nicholas's eyes were filled with killing intent. The blood breeds had been trapped by a barrier for tens of thousands of years. Nicholas had always been disgusted by barriers. Ming-Shi dared to use the barrier power in front of him. Naturally, Nicholas wanted to kill him. Xiao Wu, go to the back and take care of Uncle Feng. He patted the girl's head and said softly. Feng Wu nodded and obediently walked to Feng Tianqing's side. The atmosphere between the two sides was tense. A big battle was unavoidable. The first to make a move was Feng Tianjiao. Feng Tianjiao held a long sword and faced Feng Tianqing. The sisters immediately started fighting. Feng Tianjiao's talent was higher than Feng Tianqing's. Because she had never given up on killing Feng Tianqing, she had been cultivating diligently. Feng Tianqing's strength was no weaker than her brother Feng Tianqing's. On the other hand, Feng Tianqing had lived in the Blood Moon Forest for a long time. He had been baptized by blood and had the guidance of a famous teacher. Although he was slightly weaker than Feng Tianjiao, the difference wasn't too big. If Feng Tianjiao wanted to take down Feng Tianqing, it wasn't something that could be done in a short time. Nicholas attacked Ming-Shi at this moment. Ming-Shi was the future Moon Emperor of the human race. He was very important to the human race. Such a person naturally became Nicholas's main target. Skycliff instantly went forward to help Ming-Shi fight against the Blood Breed Prince. Ming-Shi's hand hadn't fully recovered yet. The Blood Moon Forest enchantment had been broken, and Moon King had to reinforce the Demon World Seal. Therefore, only the future Moon King, Ming-Shi, could come. Ming-Shi's hand was still recovering. In order to stop the Blood Breeds from entering the Heavenly Wind Continent, Ming-Shi still carried his injured hand outside of the Blood Moon Forest. Skycliff knew that Ming-Shi's hand hadn't fully recovered. Naturally, he had to protect him. He used his Ice Sword Intent and Slaughter Sword Intent to fight the Blood Breed Prince. Skycliff's talent in swordsmanship was obvious to all. Even the teachers in the school said that he was the most talented student in swordsmanship in the entire school. The Blood Kindred Grand Princes had the strength of a human warlock saint. Although Ming-Shi and Tianyu were still weaker than the Blood Kindred Grand Princes, the two of them were not at a disadvantage when they fought together. On the other hand, Feng Yanran and Aubrey stared nervously at a juror who hadn't made a move yet. As the third seed of the fourth year, Aubrey was naturally not weak. After discovering that a juror was only a second-year student, he heaved a sigh of relief. If he was at his peak, he naturally wouldn't be afraid of a second-year student. However, he was still injured and couldn't fight at all. If he fought with a juror now, it would be very disadvantageous for him. Aubrey was afraid that they would take the opportunity to attack Feng Yanran. So he pulled Feng Yanran further away from Feng Wu and the others. He was afraid that a juror would suddenly rush over. Ajur was too lazy to make a move against Feng Yinran and the others. Although Feng Yinran had the potential to become the Blood Emperor, she was still a weakling. As for Aubrey, he was seriously injured. These two people weren't worth his time. Ajur's main task was to protect Fengwu and her family. He wouldn't take the initiative to find trouble with Feng Yinran and the others. Feng Tianjiao's every move was ruthless. It was obvious how strong her killing intent was. This woman had made killing Feng Tianjing her life goal since she was young. For this goal, she had sacrificed a lot. With her current strength, she was like a stranger to her only father and brother. Although things had turned out like this, she didn't regret it. As for Feng Tianjing, she had lived under the shadow of being killed by her mother and sister since she was young. Even if she received all the love from her father and brother, it couldn't stop her from feeling uneasy. In order to survive and not be killed by her sister, she had worked harder than others since she was young. This was why she had the strength she had today. These two women both wanted to kill each other. Every move was filled with killing intent, and every sword was aimed at a vital point. Chapter 521. As for Feng Tianjing, she had been living under the shadow of being killed by her mother and sister since she was young. Even after receiving all the love from her father and brother, she still couldn't stop the uneasiness in her heart. In order to survive and not be killed by her sister, she had been working harder than others since she was young. That was why she had the strength she had today. These two women both wanted to kill each other. Every move was filled with murderous intent, and every strike was aimed at a vital point. Ming Shi and Skycliff were also in a tough battle. Ming Shi's hand wasn't completely healed, which affected his strength. Although Skycliff was a once-in-a-century sword genius, he still had a lot of room for improvement due to his age. The two of them were able to hold their own in the beginning, but as time went on, the battle became more and more difficult. Ajur, go help them. Fengwu pulled Ajur's hand and said, "What will you do if I go?" Ajur was worried, afraid that Feng Yinran would secretly do something bad. "Don't worry, I'm here," Fengwu said seriously. "Okay, Uncle Feng, you guys be careful," Ajur said before leaping towards Ming Shi and Skycliff to join the battle. Ajur was worried that removing the seal would attract the attention of the vampires after entering the vampires' territory, so he had already removed the seal on his forehead before entering this place. Holding Tsang Yin, Ajur joined the battle. With the addition of Ajur, Ming Shi and Skycliff immediately felt more relaxed. Ajur was the inheritor of the Divine Seal, and he was the inheritor of the Seal of Summer. The power of the Seal of Summer had a great suppressive effect on the vampires. This time, it was Nicholas' turn to be passive. Nicholas was indeed a prince of the vampires. Even when surrounded by three geniuses, he was still in an invincible position. The battle between the three of them wouldn't end anytime soon. Feng Tianjing and Feng Tianjiao's situation wasn't so optimistic. Both of them had injuries on their bodies, and Feng Tianjing's injuries were more serious. However, Feng Tianjiao didn't get the upper hand either. The two women were covered in blood and looked terrifying. Even so, they still fought with their lives. They were determined to kill the other party to prevent future troubles. Feng Tianjing and his son couldn't fight at this moment, so they could only stand aside like outsiders. Is His Highness Ming Shi all right? Nothing must happen to His Highness. Feng Juntian muttered worriedly. With the holy emissary of Xia here, they should be fine. Xia's power can suppress all evil beings. His red lotus fire has the power to burn and purify. With Ajur's red lotus fire, they should be fine. Feng Tianjing was indeed a senior. He could understand the crux of the matter with just one look. If only we could recover our strength, we wouldn't have to stand here like trash, unable to do anything. Feng Juntian muttered in frustration. After recovering her strength, Fengwu tilted her head. She used her consciousness to communicate with pure flame. After communicating with pure flame for a long time, she finally managed to borrow a bit of strength. The father and son were talking when they didn't expect Fengwu to suddenly grab their hands. Originally, they were afraid of Fengwu, but gradually, they felt the strength in their bodies slowly returning. After a few breaths, Their bodies had completely recovered to their peak. This sudden change made the father and son somewhat unable to believe it. The blood race's medicine, being ineffective on Fengwu, could be explained by Fengwu's special physique. But now, Fengwu could even cure the medicine in their bodies. This was a little inconceivable. After recovering their strength, the father and son didn't say anything else. One of them wanted to help Ming Shi, while the other wanted to help Feng Tianjiao. When Feng Tianjiao saw Feng Juntian coming to help, she immediately shouted that she didn't need anyone's help. She had to kill Feng Tianxing with her own hands. Feng Juntian had no choice but to join the team to deal with Nicholas. Nicholas was very strong, but unfortunately, 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. With the addition of the Feng father and son, the pressure on Ming Shi's side decreased. Under the cooperation of the few people, Nicholas suffered quite a few injuries. His originally exquisite black clothes were pierced with several large holes, and there was blood at the corner of his mouth. Ming Shi's God's blood and Ajur's Xiaji's Strength of Summer were very effective against Nicholas. He couldn't use his ultimate move even if he wanted to, so he could only be surrounded and attacked. Finally, Feng Tianjiao's side ended the battle first. She stabbed her sword into Feng Tianxing's heart. This sword was very deep, and Feng Tianxing looked down at the sword in his chest in pain. She didn't even have time to say her last words before she died in Feng Tianjiao's hands. "Mother!" Feng Yanran screamed in horror and staggered to Feng Tianxing's body. Feng Tianxing's body no longer had any signs of life. Even if they wanted to save him, they couldn't. Hearing that his lover had been killed, Nicholas let out a long cry of pain. He wanted to beat everyone back and rush to his lover's side. "Father, they killed Mother." Feng Yanran hugged her mother's body and cried. Aubrey hugged her shoulders and comforted her silently. "How dare you kill my lover? I'll kill you all." Nicholas forcibly activated the forbidden technique, wanting to kill Ming Shi and the others to avenge his lover. The bloody light on Nicholas's body shone brightly. This bloody light soared into the sky, and the barrier set up by Ming Shi was broken. It was impossible for the enchantment to seal this place forever. As time passed, the power of the enchantment would weaken. When Nicholas was determined to break through, he naturally broke through. As soon as the power of the barrier was broken, the blood breeds in all directions felt how angry their prince was. What happened to make their prince so angry? A long cry appeared in the sky above the entire Blood Moon Forest. The blood breeds who heard this immediately ran toward the blood breed castle. Someone actually went to the blood breed castle and offended their prince. It was simply unforgivable. Blood breeds from all directions kept rushing over. Ming Shi and the others' expressions changed instantly. "Let's go." After leaving the battlefield, Ming Shi shouted in a low voice. This was no longer the time to fight. The blood breeds kept rushing over. If they didn't leave now, they would all die in this place. After Feng Tianxing and his son retreated, one grabbed Feng Tianjiao, and the other wanted to pull Fengwu. Unexpectedly, Ming Shi had already pulled Fengwu firmly. The group of people ran out of the castle. "Rest and leave!" With a loud shout, Nicholas leaped up and chased after Ming Shi and the others. There were many vampires gathered outside the castle, and Nicholas was chasing after them. It was almost impossible for them to escape from here. Ajur had Red Lotus brazed a path and led the way in front. The others followed closely behind. Feng Tianxing supported Feng Tianjiao and followed behind. "Put me down. You won't be able to escape if you bring me along," Feng Tianjiao said. She was calm now. Her wish for many years had finally come true. She had successfully killed the Feng clan's jinx, Feng Tianxing. She finally had an explanation for her mother. She did what her mother asked her to do. She had no regrets in this life. Even if she died now, it would be worth it. "What nonsense are you saying? You're our Feng clan's daughter. I'm the clan leader and your brother. How could I leave you behind?" Feng Tianxing didn't listen and walked forward with Feng Tianjiao. "I've suffered too many injuries. Although I've already drunk the medicine to stop the bleeding, the smell of blood on my wounds and the smell of my clothes will attract the blood breeds. Put me down," Feng Tianxing said. "No, I don't have a sister anymore. I can't let anything happen to you." Feng Tianqing shook his head firmly. When he found out the truth, Feng Tianqing felt very guilty towards this younger sister of his. Because of his and his father's distrust, she could only complete her mother's last wish alone. She was also secretly suppressed by him and his father, afraid that she would find trouble with Tianqing if she got the chance. Even if it happened all over again, he and his father wouldn't believe it. After all, for a mother to want to kill her own daughter, it was too unbelievable. No one would believe Tian Jiao's words. If they had given Tian Jiao a little bit of trust, even if they didn't kill Tianqing, if they just strictly disciplined him and didn't let him leave the Feng clan, would the fates of his two sisters be different? No one could tell him the answer to all of this. He could only look at his sister with guilt and heartache. Feng Tianqing wasn't willing to leave Feng Tianjiao behind no matter what. The blood on Feng Tianjiao's body was like a signpost, constantly attracting the blood breeds around to kill them. Fortunately, the red lotus fire in Ajur's hands was powerful enough. Along the way, many blood breeds died in the fire. They were already afraid of the fire blood breeds and didn't dare to recklessly throw their lives away. At this time, Nicholas had also caught up. Nicholas, who descended from the sky, looked at the humans in front of him with hatred. They were the ones who killed the woman he loved deeply. Although Feng Tianqing was a human, Nicholas truly loved Feng Tianqing. These people killed the woman he loved the most. How could he not hate them? Today, none of you will leave here alive. All of you will become food for my daughter. Without the restriction of the barrier, Nicholas's strength was fully unleashed. Ming Shi and the others were once again in a tough battle. This time, not only did they have to deal with Nicholas, but they also had to deal with the other blood breeds. The situation could be said to be a mess. Feng Wu took out a pure sword from the space. This was the first time she took out a pure sword since Xiaoqun had advanced. Xiaoqun had already fallen into a deep sleep. When it woke up, it would only be stronger than now. Now that the pure sword didn't have a sword spirit to control it, its power wasn't as strong as before. Although the pure sword couldn't kill the blood breeds, it could still restrain them. With the addition of Feng Wu's pure sword, everyone felt a lot more relaxed. Feng Wu's pure sword and Ajur's staff were both divine weapons. When the two divine weapons unleashed their power, they caused a lot of damage to the blood breeds around them. The only one who wasn't affected was Nicholas. As the prince of the blood breeds, Nicholas wasn't that easy to defeat. Although the divine weapons could restrain him, the blood breeds had an innate advantage in speed. As long as they missed, the damage to him would be minimized. Chapter 522. With the addition of Feng Wu's pure sword, everyone felt a lot more relaxed. Feng Wu's pure sword and Ajur's staff were both divine weapons. When the two divine weapons unleashed their power, they caused a lot of damage to the surrounding vampires. The only one who wasn't affected was Nicholas. As the Blood Kindred's prince, Nicholas wasn't that easy to defeat. Although the divine artifact could restrain him, the Blood Kindred's speed was their innate advantage. As long as they missed, the damage to him would be minimized. Nicholas was not weak. His attacks were fast and powerful. Feng Tianqing, Feng Tianjiao, and Feng Juntian were all injured by him. Feng Wu had the pure sword to protect her body. Apart from a few minor injuries, she did not suffer any serious injuries. The few of them continued to fight. No one noticed that the baby had returned to Feng Wu's head and was mumbling something. It seemed to be chanting some ancient incantation. Finally, after chanting the last part of the incantation, Ming Shi and the others disappeared before the eyes of the vampires. Bao Bao had activated an ancient teleportation scroll. This scroll was prepared for Ming Shi and the others. After activating the scroll, it could teleport everyone marked to their original position. Although this scroll was useful, it required too much time to activate. Unfortunately, they were in a rush and could not find a better one, so they could only use this one. Bao Bao spent a lot of time marking everyone, and activating the scroll took about a quarter of an hour. If not for Bao Bao's small size, no one would have noticed it. Who would use a teleportation scroll that required a lot of time and had no other advantages other than being able to teleport people over a long distance. Just activating it took so long. If someone really activated it in a moment of crisis, they would be cheated to death. Following this light, Ming-Shi and the others disappeared. Nicholas roared in dissatisfaction, but it was useless. No matter how he sent people to search, they could not find Ming-Shi and the others. At this moment, in a human camp not far away from Bloody Moon Forest, a large group of people were helping those who had just been teleported into the only house on the upper floor. Those who were injured were treated, and those who were not injured were taken away to report what had happened. Everyone was in an uproar when they found out that Feng Tianxing was actually a spy for the Blood Kindred. The dignified Feng family's legitimate daughter actually ran over to be a spy for the Blood Kindred. This was too unbelievable. She already had such a high status. What else could she possibly want by doing this? Later, it was said that Feng Yinran was actually the daughter of the Blood Kindred Prince and Feng Tianxing. The whole school was in an uproar. There was actually a human who gave birth to a descendant of the Blood Kindred. Moreover, the descendant of the Blood Clan was a noble lady. This was simply the biggest scandal in the aristocratic circle. Although Feng Tianxing had died at the hands of another daughter of the Feng family, Feng Tianjiao, it could be considered as cleaning up the family. However, the things that the Feng family's daughter did could not be erased with an eraser. Rumors that the Feng family's daughter could not be married had already begun to spread among the large families. The news that was circulating outside was only the most superficial. There was also the matter of Feng Tianxing wanting his daughter to devour the Feng family's bloodline. Other than some higher-ups, not many people knew about it. After returning to the camp, Silda and the other friends who were concerned about Feng Wu all came to ask about her situation. They were only relieved when they saw that she was not injured. After resting for a day, Feng Wu went to find Ming-Shi. She knew that Ming-Shi's hand injury was serious again. His arm that would not recover after 1 or 2 more months of rest had gotten worse because he insisted on saving her. Feng Wu hugged Ming-Shi's injured hand, her eyes red. "Don't cry, I'm fine. It's just that the recovery time might be a little longer." Ming-Shi touched her head and comforted her softly. "I'm not crying. I never cry." Feng Wu looked at Ming-Shi seriously. Her eyes were red, but she did not let the tears fall. She looked like a bullied bunny. "Okay, I was wrong. My Xiao Wu never cries." Ming-Shi smoothed the girl's hair. The girl snuggled into the boy's arms. The boy and girl sat together like this, and for a moment, it felt very peaceful. In 2 days, the human race will launch their final counterattack. At that time, we will trap all the blood race in the Blood Moon Forest and then seal them again. After the seal is completed, I will return to the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. This time, the recovery time might be even longer. When I'm not around, take care of yourself. Don't go to dangerous places. If someone bullies you, don't be soft-hearted. I will protect you. No matter how noble the person is, I will always be able to protect you. Let's keep in touch like before," Feng Wu said. In fact, before coming here, Feng Wu had already heard about this from her father, Feng Wu, so she was not too surprised. But when she thought about how she would not be able to see Ming-Shi for a while, she felt a little sad and reluctant. "And the same. If you want, we can keep in touch every day." Ming-Shi kissed Feng Wu's forehead. This light kiss was like a gentle breeze that blew into Feng Wu's heart. It was a little numb. Ming-Shi had just stepped back when Feng Wu's little face came up and covered his mouth. Feng Wu had never kissed anyone before. She had only seen others do it before. Someone had told her that it was something that lovers often did. Although she did not understand why they had to eat each other's mouths after becoming lovers, she and Ming-Shi were already lovers. Shouldn't she and Ming-Shi eat each other's mouths? Oh, that's not right. A juror had said that it was not called eating mouths, it was called kissing. Ming-Shi's eyes were smiling as he hugged her a little tighter, but his lips moved away slightly. "Be good. Kissing is not like that." "Then what is it? Is it biting?" Ming-Shi looked at Ming-Shi in a daze. "Follow my example." After whispering softly, Ming-Shi took the initiative to kiss Feng Wu's lips. This kiss was very light and gentle, as if he was protecting a precious treasure. Feng Wu felt a kind of numbness spread from her mouth to her entire body, and then to her heart. The two of them hugged and kissed sweetly for 10 minutes. After a long time, Mingxi finally let go of Fengwu. In the future, you can't let others do this to you. Do you understand? Mingxi was worried that his little girlfriend was too innocent and would be taken advantage of. Ajur had told me before that only lovers can kiss. We are lovers, so I will only let Mingxi kiss me. Fengwu looked seriously at Mingxi and said word by word, "Okay, I will also only kiss Xiaowu. I will not kiss other girls." Mingxi also made a serious promise. Lovers always felt that there was not enough time. 2 days passed very quickly. The counterattack, led by the vice principal, was very successful. The vampires were all chased back into the Blood Moon Forest. At that time, Mingxi used all of his magic to repair the sealing barrier. The vampires were once again sealed. Heavenly Wind Continent's calamity had finally passed. Chapter 523. Couples always felt that there wasn't enough time. 2 days passed quickly, and the counterattack, led by the vice principal, was very successful. The blood breeds were all chased back into the Blood Moon Forest, and Mingxi used all his magic to repair the seal. The blood breeds were sealed once again. The Heavenly Wind Continent's calamity had finally passed safely. After the battle, Mingxi left along with Skycliff. Fengwu stood outside the Blood Moon Forest and watched as Mingxi left. Then she followed the teachers back to school and continued her school life. Feng Tianqing's matter was a huge blow to Master Feng. Ever since he heard that Feng Tianqing had colluded with other races to harm the human race, Master Feng seemed to have aged a few decades. He was clearly such a spirited old man, but now he seemed to be in his twilight years. Feng Wuliu locked himself in his room for 3 whole days, and it was Feng Tianjiao who pulled Master Feng out. Probably because Feng Tianqing was dead, the knot between Feng Tianjiao and Master Feng was no longer as deep. This pair of father and daughter could finally sit together and talk properly. However, the two of them still didn't have the filial piety of an ordinary father and daughter. It was just that there was less gunpowder between them. Fengwu found out about Master Feng's recent situation from Madame Lan, and Madame Lan hoped that Fengwu could go home to visit. Fengwu thought that there wasn't much to do recently, and the semester was about to end. As students who had participated in the battle, they didn't have to take the final exam because they had contributed to the continent. Fengwu asked for leave from the teachers and brought Little Bun and Little White back to the Feng family. With the convenient transportation method of the teleportation formation, Fengwu took less than half an hour to return to the ancient Eastern country. The ancient Eastern country was very lively recently because the annual Flower Tide Festival was about to arrive. The streets were filled with all kinds of beautiful flowers, and the people's faces were filled with happy smiles. Not only were there flowers on the streets, but even the doors of many families were filled with flowers. These flowers were beautiful and fragrant and attracted people's attention. When she returned to the Feng family, her brother Feng Juntian was already waiting outside. Seeing that Fengwu had returned, he helped carry his little nephew into the house. This was the Elf King. Maybe he could get some divinity from carrying him more. When she returned to the Feng family, she naturally had to meet the head of the Feng family, Master Feng Wuliu. Grandfather, Xiao Wu is back. Feng Juntian took Feng Wu to the old man's study, where she saw the old man practicing calligraphy. Seeing that Feng Wu was back, the old man's stern face softened a little. Fengzes. Unfortunately, Fengwu didn't understand. She even nodded with a serious expression, indicating that she also felt that they should cook more. Xiaoyi, stay here. Xiaowu, go have a chat with your mother. Master Feng gestured for Feng Juntian to carry the child over, then waved his hand to chase them away. The fact that Xiao Yi was the Elf King was definitely one of the important reasons why Master Feng recovered from his grief so quickly. Thus, Xiao Yi and Steamed Bun were left by Feng Wuliu's side, while Fengwu went to find her mother. Madame Lan was still the same as before. She spent most of her time reading romance novels every day. She said that these novels were her source of energy, and even Feng Tianqing couldn't compete with these novels. Seeing Fengwu's return, Madame Lan was happy from the bottom of her heart. She began to arrange a banquet to welcome Fengwu, and even sent people to invite Feng Tianjiao's family over. When the banquet was held at night, Feng Tianjiao's family of 7 was all present. Even the son-in-law that Master Feng didn't like came. This was also the first time Fengwu saw her uncle. This uncle wasn't very handsome, but he had a natural scholarly aura. He was a man with a very good temperament. Feng Tianjiao and her husband had a very good relationship. Otherwise, they wouldn't have had 5 children, including 2 sons and 3 daughters. Yilin still didn't get along with Fengwu. The 2 sons of the Yi family also ignored Fengwu. The twins only sat down and ate obediently, not daring to say anything, afraid that they would provoke their grandfather's anger. The children of the Yi family were all quite afraid of this grandfather of theirs. Feng Wuliu would often glare at them like quails, not daring to say anything. After the meal, they didn't chat for long before they dispersed. Yilin asked Fengwu to go out and play during the Flower Tide Festival. Madame Lan agreed on behalf of Fengwu. Fengwu didn't think it was a big deal. At night, she hid under the soft and comfortable blankets and spoke with Ming, she through the communication crystal. Fengwu told Ming, that she had already returned to her home. She also told him about the day's events, the lively streets, the Flower Tide Festival, and so on. The two chatted until very late into the night before going to bed. The next day, Fengwu accompanied Madame Lan to buy clothes. On the day of the Flower Tide Festival, there was a 100-flower banquet in the palace. The aristocratic families were all invited. Fengwu was dragged by Madame Lan to buy several beautiful gowns, saying that she would wear them when she entered the palace. But in the next few days, the palace didn't send anyone to invite them to the banquet. The madams and young misses of the other families had already received the invitations. This was a clear slap to the Feng family's face. This matter would probably become the laughingstock of the entire ancient Eastern country after tonight. Old Master Feng had risked his life for the ancient Eastern country. He didn't expect that because of Feng Tianxing, the imperial family's attitude would become worse. They didn't even send invitations to the 100-flower banquet to the Feng family. Old Master Feng didn't say anything after he found out. However, a storm was brewing in his eyes. Who knew when it would explode? At the 100-flower banquet in the palace, the younger generation was all laughing at the Feng family. The Feng family, a super family, couldn't even get an invitation to the 100-flower banquet. If this wasn't a joke, then what was? They didn't invite the Feng family to the 100-flower banquet this time. The Feng family has lost a lot of face this time. Isn't that so? Feng Ting is already dead. The Feng family only has one young miss, Fengwu. That Fengwu is so embarrassing. It's better if she didn't come. Otherwise, being in the same place as her will only lower our status. That's true. It's better if she didn't come. This was the laughter of the young women. On the other side, a group of old men also gathered together to talk about this matter. Do you guys think that His Highness wants to? An old patriarch made a killing gesture with his hand. That can't be. Feng Wuliu is loyal and devoted to our ancient Eastern country. No matter what, His Highness wouldn't do such a chilling thing. That's not necessarily true. Feng Tianxing did such a thing this time. He colluded with the bloodlings to subvert our heavenly wind continent. This is a great crime of betraying the human race. It's not impossible for Feng Wuliu to be implicated and abandoned by His Highness. Chapter 524. On the other side, a group of old guys also gathered together to talk about this matter. Do you think His Highness wants to do something to the Feng family? An old patriarch made a gesture of killing. It can't be. Feng Wuliu is loyal and devoted to our ancient Eastern country. No matter what, it is impossible for His Highness to do such a chilling thing. That's not necessarily true. This time, Feng Tianxing did such a thing, colluding with the vampires to subvert our heavenly wind continent. This is a great crime of betraying the human race. It is not impossible for Feng Wuliu to be implicated and rejected by His Highness. But didn't the Feng family send people to clean up the house? Feng Wuliu has also said that he expelled Feng Tianxing from the Feng family. His Highness still holds on to this matter. It is too chilling, isn't it? His Majesty's actions are really inappropriate. Really inappropriate. These old patriarchs shook their heads and sighed. They felt that His Majesty the Emperor of the ancient Eastern country had gone too far. No matter what, Feng Wulu was still an old patriarch of a superforce. The Feng family was also a family with a bloodline inheritance. It was not comparable to ordinary families. Today, many people whose family background was not as good as the Feng family came. On the contrary, a superforce like the Feng family was rejected at the door. This was clearly a slap to the Feng family's face. Ronghua, how can you do this? The Empress was so angry that her face turned white. She was not only slapping the Feng family's face, but also making His Majesty embarrassed. What did I do? I just didn't want to see the Feng family's people, so I didn't want them to come. I didn't do anything wrong, Princess Ronghua said indifferently. Since the last time she saw Ming Shi, Princess Ronghua had secretly fallen in love with him. Unfortunately, Ming Shi ignored her. She didn't know where she heard that Ming Shi was studying at the Notre Dame du Starlight in Central City, so she wanted to go to Central City to meet Ming Shi again. However, before she arrived at the Central City, she heard the news that Ming Shi was injured and had returned to the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. Later, she heard about the ambiguous relationship between Ming Shi and Feng Wu. Princess Ronghua, who had always been proud and arrogant, could not bear it. If Ming Shi could choose any woman, she would not be so angry. Why did he have to choose Feng Wu? Feng Wu gave birth to a wild child. He would rather choose a promiscuous slut than her. How could she, Princess Ronghua, show her face? She could already imagine the scene when the news spread. She would be laughed at by other noble ladies. Every time she thought of that scene, her whole body felt uncomfortable. She wanted to skin Feng Wu alive. For this Flower-Tide festival, she was specifically responsible for helping her mother draft the guest list. She also purposely crossed out the names of the Feng family members, which resulted in today's incident. Although she knew that she would be blamed, she did not regret it. This was the Imperial Palace, her home. She just did not want to see the Feng family. How can you say that? Is the Feng family an ordinary family? They are the top aristocratic family in the ancient kingdom of the East. In the whole Tianfeng continent, they are also one of the superforces. How can you offend them? The Empress now regretted asking her daughter for help. If she had known earlier, she would rather be tired than to let Ronghua find an opportunity to cheat her mother. She could already foresee His Majesty's angry face. So what if they're not ordinary? I am a princess. How can I be afraid of them? Princess Ronghua's words meant that she did not put the aristocratic family in her eyes. Bang! The Empress was so angry that she slammed the table and stood up. Fortunately, all the maids and servants had been driven out, so she did not have to worry about being heard by others. You're still not going to shut your mouth? How did I give birth to such an idiot like you? You even dare to say such things. Even your imperial father wouldn't say such things. You sure are bold, daring to say such things. The Empress was so angry that her liver hurt. Seeing that Princess Ronghua was still unrepentant, the Empress secretly decided that she must discipline Ronghua strictly in the future. She must not let today's incident happen again. Not long after, the Emperor sent someone to ask the Empress and the Princess to go to the Imperial Palace. The Emperor also knew that his wife and daughter had caused such trouble behind his back. The face of the aristocratic family was not something you could slap at will. As the Emperor, he did not dare to slap the faces of the aristocratic families at will. His wife and daughter were so bold that they dared to slap the face of the Feng family at the Flower-Tide festival. The Empress took Princess Ronghua to the imperial study, trembling with fear. Just then, a teacup was smashed in her face. The Empress did not dare to dodge at all. She could only let the teacup hit her head and face. Your Majesty, please calm down. I did not teach my daughter well. I will discipline Ronghua strictly in the future. I will never make such a mistake again. The Empress quickly pulled Princess Ronghua to kneel down. This time, it was a big mistake. If the Feng family investigated, Ronghua would definitely be in trouble. In order to save her daughter, She could only hint her daughter to quickly admit her mistake. Unfortunately, Princess Ronghua did not think that she was wrong. She did not even kneel down. She just watched her mother anxiously cry. One of you is the empress, the other is the princess. One is my wife, and the other is my daughter. You don't want to share my worries every day, and you dare to make such a big thing. You two want to kill me, don't you? The emperor was so angry that he gasped for breath. The empress could only kneel down and admit her mistake. Princess Ronghua was even more stubborn. She said she would not admit her mistake. What? Princess, you don't think you are wrong? The emperor sneered. I just don't want to see some people I don't want to see in my own home. What's wrong with that? Princess Ronghua said righteously. You are right. It's my fault. I shouldn't have given birth to such a rebellious daughter like you. Come on, send Princess Ronghua back to her room. Without my order, no one is allowed to let the princess out. As soon as the order was given, a group of guards immediately came in and took Princess Ronghua back to her room. No matter how much noise she made, it was useless. After punishing Princess Ronghua, the Feng family still had to be appeased. The emperor was simply having a headache. The next day, the news that Princess Ronghua was grounded came out of the palace. Later, after inquiring about the reason, she learned that the Feng family did not receive the invitation last night because Princess Ronghua accidentally crossed out the name of the Feng family on the list, and she happened to cross out the name of the Feng family, so the invitation was not sent to the Feng family. Who would believe this? To say that she accidentally scratched it, that was too much of a coincidence. She didn't scratch anyone, but she just happened to scratch the Feng family. This reason was too far-fetched. Anyway, not many people believed it, but it seemed to be true that it was caused by Princess Ronghua. Soon after the news that Princess Ronghua was grounded came out, the empress personally went to the Feng family with gifts to apologize. Although the Feng family did not want to see the royal family now, it was the empress who came. They could not just ignore her, so Madame Lan invited the empress in. Although the empress was welcomed into the Feng family, she still did not see Feng Wuyo, Feng Tianxing, and his son. Originally, according to the etiquette, it should be the Feng family's old master, the Feng family's master, and the younger generation of the Feng family to greet the empress. But the Feng family was now angry. How could they want to see the empress? It was good enough that Madame Lan was willing to come to see her. Madame Lan accompanied the empress to have a cup of tea and some pastries. The empress explained the purpose of her visit and expressed her apology to Madame Lan with a good attitude. Madame Lan just said that she knew and did not say whether she would accept it or not. The empress had no choice but to go back to the palace. Father, just now the empress came to our house to apologize. She hopes that we can forgive Princess Ronghua for being insensible. Madame Lan walked into Feng Wuyo's study and explained the empress's intention. Don't worry about them. Feng Wuyo continued to practice his calligraphy and ignored them. When the empress returned to the palace, she was scolded by the king again. This matter also caused a lot of noise. Finally, the king personally summoned Master Feng. It was said that the two talked for a long time. When Master Feng came out, there was news that Princess Ronghua was about to marry a neighboring country. Everyone guessed at this time Master Feng was really angry, and even Princess Ronghua was in trouble. Because of this matter, Princess Ronghua's reputation among the nobles plummeted. Every day, she smashed things in her own palace to vent her anger. How could the first beauty of the ancient eastern country not end up like this? This ending really made people sigh. That's why people said that if you don't have the ability, don't court death. Even the dignified princess court death. Feng Wu told all the news to Mingxi. Mingxi did not expect that this matter would be solved in the end. Why didn't Princess Ronghua find that she was such a brainless woman before? So, his Xiao Wu was better. At least he didn't have to worry about his Xiao Wu court death like Princess Ronghua. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was the Flower Tide Festival. On this day, there would be a selection of the Flower King in the center of the imperial city. Every family could send a pot of flowers to participate in the selection, and then the winning flower would get the title of Flower King. The previous Flower King had all been sold at a sky-high price. If you had a Flower King, you would get the blessing of the flower god. If you had a flower king, you would get a happy marriage and have a son early. If you had a flower king, you would get married. Because of this reason, every time the flower king was selected, the price would be sky high. Many people wanted it but couldn't. The flowers participating in the flower king selection could participate in the name of their family or in their own name. The Feng family sent 5 pots of precious flowers to participate in the flower king selection, and other big families also sent their treasure flowers. The flower king selection lasted for 7 days, and the results would be summarized after 7 days. Every resident in the imperial city could vote for their favorite flower, and the one with the most votes could enter the next round of selection. The last round of selection was not for ordinary people to choose, but to send flowers to the flower altar and ask for the flower god's blessing. Whichever flower was illuminated by the flower god's divine light and absorbed the blessing of the flower god, that flower would be the flower god this year. Feng Wu and her brother walked together in the flower and bird market. The flower and bird market had been very lively recently. Because of the Flower Tide Festival, there were a lot of people buying flowers, and the flower farmers made a lot of money. The Flower King selection had already begun, and all the good flowers had been bought by people who had the ability to buy them. Only some of the flowers were ordinary in appearance or species. Feng Juntian saw that his sister seemed to like plants, so he took Feng Wu to the flower market to have a look. If Feng Wu liked something, he could buy a few for her. Chapter 5:25. Feng Wu and her brother walked together in the flower and bird market. The flower and bird market had been very lively recently. Because of the Flower Tide Festival, there were a lot of people buying flowers, and the flower farmers made a lot of money. The Flower King selection had already begun, and all the good flowers had already been bought by people who had the ability to buy them. Only a few flowers with average appearances or species were left. Feng Juntian saw that his sister seemed to like plants, so he brought Feng Wu to the flower market to take a look. If there were any flowers that Feng Wu liked, he could buy a few for her. After walking around the flower market, Feng Juntian didn't like a single flower. This wasn't surprising, as the Feng family was a top aristocratic family and one of the superpowers. He had seen countless rare flowers since he was young, so why would he like these leftover flowers? Feng Wu, on the other hand, was very interested in looking here and there, and the corner of her mouth kept curling up. The flowers and plants here were still chatting, and they were chatting happily. One of them was very special, and the other flowers were very respectful to that little flower, and even called it boss. Feng Wu found the flower that was called boss, and pulled her brother's hand, using her eyes to tell him that she wanted this flower. This one, are you sure? This flower didn't seem too good. The flower didn't have much spirit, and it looked like it was about to wilt. Feng Juntian wanted to buy the best flower for his sister, but Xiao Wu liked this one. Forget it, if it was ugly, then it was ugly. As long as Xiao Wu liked it, then it was fine. This young miss, you have good taste. Don't think that this flower doesn't look like much. This little one found it in a deep valley. When this little one found this flower, there wasn't a single flower beside it. This little one felt that this flower was extraordinary, so I picked it and brought it back. Although this little one can't recognize what species this flower is, it's definitely not an ordinary flower. It's a pity that so many people passed by, but no one recognized gold and jade. Only young Miss can recognize it. After that, the skinny flower seller kept praising it as if it didn't cost money. All right, let's not talk too much. How much is it? This wasn't the first time Feng Juntian had come to the flower market to buy flowers. Which of these flower sellers wasn't good at talking? If one wasn't careful, it was very easy to buy some seemingly expensive, but actually cheap, ordinary flowers. This lowly one won't ask for too much. You can take the 500 gold. Seeing that the siblings Feng Wu and Feng Juntian were dressed well, he decided to demand an exorbitant price. 5 gold coins. If you don't want to sell it, then forget it. Feng Juntian often came to this landlord, so he naturally knew the value of these flowers. Ordinary flowers were only worth about 5 gold coins, so he didn't haggle. Young master, this is too little. Why don't you add more? The skinny man said with a wry smile. He had thought that 2 big clients had come, but it turned out that they were also knowledgeable. If you don't want to sell, then forget it. Feng Juntian pretended to pull Fengwu away. The skinny man had no choice but to comply and wrap up the flower properly. After Feng Juntian paid, he passed the flower that Fengwu liked to her and kept it for himself. Fengwu was extremely satisfied as she looked at her lord brother with eyes full of admiration. Big brother is too awesome. A flower that was originally sold for 5 gold coins can now be bought for 5 gold coins. The money saved is enough to eat a lot of good food. Big brother is really awesome. She also had to work hard to be as awesome as Big Brother. Xiaowu, it's not that Big Brother is awesome. It's just that the flower in your hand is only worth 5 gold coins. That person saw that you're a young lady and wanted to swindle more money from you. That's why he asked for such a high price. That person is evil. Fengwu didn't have a good impression of anyone who wanted to swindle money from her. Only with money could one have food to eat, and scammers weren't good people. He is indeed evil. How could he swindle Xiaowu? Actually, this person couldn't be blamed. He was just trying to make a living. If he couldn't tell, then it could only be said that he had bad eyesight. If he lost money, then he could only treat it as paying for a lesson. Of course, he didn't say this. Even if he did, Xiaowu wouldn't understand. The siblings strolled around for a while and then went home. When they returned to their room, little Baozi was sleeping soundly on the bed. Fengwu asked Qing'er to get some soil and a beautiful flower pot so that she could plant this unknown flower. Why is there such a strong aura of life? Little flower, who hadn't spoken much since Fengwu bought it, opened its mouth again. Little thing's shocked tone made Fengwu a little confused. What aura of life? What was it talking about? Fengwu tilted her head and looked at Little Flower. My goodness, where did that child come from? Such a strong aura of life. Is he still human? A cute child's voice muttered in Fengwu's room. Xiaoyi opened his eyes in a daze, and his small body nimbly got up. Seeing this, Fengwu couldn't care less about what Little Flower was saying. She walked over to the bed and helped Xiaoyi put on his clothes. Little Baozi cutely snuggled into Fengwu's arms. Mommy hug? Little Thing said in a cute voice. Fengwu carried Little Thing up and kissed his little face. After being kissed by his mommy, Little Thing's little face was red and he looked very happy. Is this really a human child? How can a human have such a strong aura of life? Unless he's a life magician. But that can't be. In this world, other than the elves, which human knows life magic. The more Little Flower thought about it, the more confused he became. He kept talking like a little chatterbox. Noisy, Little Flower is noisy. Little Baozi pointed at Little Flower, complaining that Little Flower was too noisy and Little Baozi couldn't stand it. It is quite noisy. Fengwu nodded in agreement. You speak as if you can understand what I'm saying. Little Flower's cute voice sounded again. This time it sounded a little nonchalant. This flower didn't believe that a human could understand what it was saying. I can understand. Fengwu nodded and looked at Little Flower. Little Baozi also nodded and looked at Little Flower. Holy shit, you can actually understand what I'm saying. Little Flower felt that his worldview had been greatly impacted. What was wrong with this world? Had humans evolved to this level so quickly? Fengwu nodded again. Little Baozi nodded along with his mommy. Who were this mother and son? Flower goddess, please take me away. There are perverts here who can understand the language of flowers. Little Flower finally settled down in Fengwu's room. Fengwu asked him what species he was. Little Flower said that he was an ancient rare flower. As for what species he was, he refused to tell her even if he was beaten to death. Luckily, Fengwu wasn't very curious. Little Baozi, on the other hand, seemed to know something. He laughed at Little Flower for a long time before stopping. Fengwu didn't know what Little Baozi was laughing about, but she didn't ask. Ever since Little Flower moved into Fengwu's room, he became more and more energetic. His originally malnourished appearance became more and more beautiful. Feng Juntian had seen Little Flower a few times. He even looked through some flower catalogs, but he couldn't find any similar flowers. In the end, he could only give up. The Flower King selection was still ongoing. Today was the last day of registration. After today, no flowers could be sent to the selection. Little Flower had heard about the Flower King selection a long time ago. He said that if he wasn't the Flower King, who else could be? He strongly requested Fengwu to send him to the selection. Fengwu felt that Little Flower was too noisy. She didn't want to be annoyed, so she agreed. The Feng family had already sent a batch of flowers to the Flower King selection. It was impossible for Fengwu to send Little Flower to the Flower King selection under the Feng family's name. In the end, Feng Juntian saw her troubles and asked her to send him to the selection under her own name. Fengwu hugged her Little Flower and sent him to the Flower King selection under her own name. Little Flower said that he would definitely bring the Flower King trophy back. Fengwu said that her ears could finally have some peace for a few days. Everyone was celebrating. Little Baozi didn't want to leave Little Flower. He asked Fengwu to carry him over to touch Little Flower's leaves. Little Flower seemed to have grown prettier in Little Baozi's hands. Little Flower, come back quickly. Little Baozi already treated Little Flower as a friend. He wanted to talk to Little Flower every day. Yes, I want to bring the trophy back. Little Flower was extremely confident in himself. The Flower King selection wasn't over yet, but something big happened in the city. A flower thief appeared. This flower thief was picking beautiful flowers. Many young ladies from small families had fallen into his evil hands. Feng Juntian was now chasing after this flower thief every day. He didn't even go home often. Fengwu was also warned not to go out too often. Otherwise, she would be caught by bad people. When Fengwu talked to Mingxi that night, she told him everything that happened today. When he heard that a flower thief was harming young ladies, Mingxi told Fengwu to be careful. He told her not to go to places with no people and not to talk to strangers. Fengwu obediently agreed. From then on, she was extremely obedient. She didn't go anywhere. She didn't even go to see Little Flower, who she had left at the selection venue. Little Flower secretly said that Fengwu was the most heartless master. On the 5th day, since the flower thief appeared, a girl was harmed every day. It made the Flower Tide Festival very restless. The entire imperial city was in a state of panic. Finally, at 6 o'clock, the evil flower thief was caught. He was an adventurer from another country. This adventurer's character was very bad. He often went to harass female adventurers and was beaten half to death by those female adventurers. After that, he continued to harass them. This time, he was caught red-handed. After the Flower Tide Festival, someone would come to interrogate him and announce the results. Feng Juntian was relieved that this person was caught. On the day of the Flower Tide Festival, the Flower King selection was coming to an end. The results were going to be out today. The Feng family didn't expect that the flower that Fengwu chose would actually be selected. The Feng family also had 2 flowers that were selected to participate in the Flower God ceremony later. The Flower God ceremony was actually to place a large pile of selected flowers on the altar. The priests of the ancient Eastern country would appear and recite the ceremony on the altar. After reciting the ceremony, there would be a sacrificial dance. After the dance, they would ask for God's grace. The flowers that could bathe in God's grace would be the Flower King this year. The ceremony lasted for a whole hour. It was so long that it made people sleepy. The Fengwu girl forced herself not to fall asleep. After an hour, there was another hour of sacrificial dance. When the dance was finished, 2 hours had passed. In the final segment, the young masters and young mistresses of the various large families were all in high spirits. They wanted to see how beautiful the flowers chosen by the flower god were. They saw a golden light shine on all the flowers on the altar. Then, the golden light became smaller and smaller until it could only shine on one flower. This golden light lasted for a whole 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the golden light disappeared. Spirit rain fell from the sky. The spirit rain fell on all the flowers in the city. Those flowers that were lacking in vitality immediately became lively. This was the flower god's blessing. The flower god would bless all the flowers in the city, making them bloom even more brilliantly. Chapter 526. A Golden Light shone on all the flowers on the altar. Then, the golden light became smaller and smaller until it could only shine on one flower. This golden light lasted for a full 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the golden light disappeared. Spirit rain fell from the sky and sprinkled on all the flowers in the city. The flowers that were lacking vitality immediately became lively again. This was a blessing from the flower god. The flower god would bless all the flowers in the city and make them bloom even brighter. Now, I announce the final result of the Flower King competition. This unknown flower was chosen by Miss Fengwu. A white-haired old man walked up to the altar and pointed at Little Blossom as he announced the result of the competition. Little Blossom actually won the Flower King competition. How was this possible? Feng Juntian was dumbfounded. He had so many precious flowers in his family, but none of them won. Instead, Little Blossom, which he bought with 5 gold coins, won the prize. This was probably the lowest status Flower King among all the Flower Kings who participated in the competition. Fengwu was pushed onto the stage by the staff and received the Flower King trophy. This competition really did have a trophy with the words Flower King engraved on it. It was very beautiful. This Flower King trophy was also a good demonic instrument. It could be used to nourish flowers and cure diseases. Fengwu went up to the stage to receive the trophy. Under the envious gazes of the crowd, she took Little Blossom home. Little Blossom won the prize. It wouldn't be long before the people from the major families who came to see the Flower King arrived. Madame Lan started to get busy again. Feng Tianqing also praised his daughter's good taste. She randomly picked a flower and won the Flower King competition. That night, Ming Shi and Fengwu chatted for a long time. She told Ming Shi about Little Blossom winning the Flower King competition. Ming Shi praised Fengwu so much that Fengwu's eyes turned into crescents. She fell asleep unknowingly. At the same time, Ming Shi, who was far away in the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom, couldn't sleep. His hands still needed to recover for about 3 months. He still couldn't go back to Xiaowu for so long. What if the Flower King really had the ability to attract other suitors for Fengwu? Ming Shi was just starting to worry when he was interrupted by a sweet voice. Big Brother Ming Shi. A beautiful girl in a white gauze dress with picturesque features hopped over and grabbed Ming Shi's hand. Hua Jin, why are you here? Ming Shi concealed the annoyance in his eyes and diverted some of his attention to deal with Hua Jin. Brother Ming Shi, your hand hasn't recovered yet. Why are you already out of bed? Let Hua Jin help you back to your room to rest. The girl called Hua Jin said with a pained expression. There's no need for that. Ming Shi withdrew his hand and kept a distance from the idol. I hurt my hand, not my foot. I don't need to hide in bed every day. Ming Shi said. Then, Hua Jin will accompany you to walk around the garden. I heard that Annie ordered people to move a lot of precious flowers over. Hua Jin didn't give up at all and continued. No need, no need. I still have something to do. You can take your time walking around, Ming Shi said indifferently. With that, he turned around and left, not caring if Hua Jin could catch up. Big Brother Ming Shi. Big Brother Ming Shi. Hua Jin chased after him all the way, but still couldn't catch up. In the end, she could only sit on a bench angrily and pull out the pitiful flowers to vent her anger. Hua Jin was the daughter of the Moon Empress sister, which meant that she was Ming Shi's biological cousin. Hua Jin had grown up with Ming Shi, so when she grew up, she naturally had other thoughts about Ming Shi. The Moon Empress knew about Hua Jin's feelings, but she didn't stop them. She just let nature take its course. Whether it was for public or private reasons, Hua Jin was a good candidate to be the next Moon Empress. In the Moon Empress' heart, Hua Jin was naive and cute. She was deeply in love with Ming Shi. Most importantly, Hua Jin's family was a prominent family in Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. Furthermore, she was the daughter of her biological sister. With all these factors combined, the Moon Empress was naturally very satisfied with Hua Jin. She was also happy to see Hua Jin chasing after Ming Shi. It was a pity that Hua Jin had been chasing after Ming Shi for more than 10 years. From when she was still a short-legged lowly until she was a grown woman, she still couldn't make Ming Shi like her. This made Hua Jin very anxious. She was afraid that Mingxi would fall in love with someone else. Fortunately, Mingxi wasn't interested in anyone else. This made Hua Jin keep convincing herself that as long as Mingxi wasn't tempted by anyone else, there would always be a chance to get Mingxi's sincerity. However, Mingxi had changed recently. He often smiled foolishly by himself and often stared at the communication crystal in a daze. There were a few times when she saw Mingxi chatting with a black-haired girl. Although the two of them were separated by the communication crystal, she could still see that the black-haired girl was very cute. She couldn't stand the fact that her beloved had fallen in love with someone else, so she pestered Mingxi even more, hoping that Mingxi would notice her. However, it seemed that Mingxi hated her more and more. Hua Jin cried unwillingly. How was she inferior to that girl? Why didn't he give her a chance? Just as Hua Jin was crying sadly, she didn't expect a gloating voice to ring in her ears. Isn't this cousin Hua Jin? Why are you hiding here and crying after being rejected by my brother? The Moon Empress' daughter, Princess Beat, had walked over to Hua Jin's side. Beat and Mingxi were the same. They had inherited the good looks of the Moon Emperor and the Moon Empress. However, Mingxi's looks were obviously more beautiful than Beat's. This was what made Beat the most unhappy. It was too stressful to have a brother who was more beautiful than her. Why couldn't he make her prettier? It's none of your business. After saying that, Hua Jin ignored Beat and turned to leave. Unexpectedly, she was stopped by Beat. Hua Jin, don't pester my brother in the future. My brother already has someone he likes. He won't like you, Beat said. You said that brother Mingxi has someone he likes? Why didn't I know about this? Hua Jin felt uneasy when she thought of the black-haired girl. Could that girl be the person Brother Rixie likes? Who are you? You're not my brother's biological sister. Why do I have to tell you everything? Beat said, I'll marry Brother Mingxi and become his wife in the future, Hua Jin declared with a resolute look. My brother won't like you. Let me tell you a secret. My brother has already gone to look for Imperial Father. Imperial Father has also agreed to my brother marrying the girl he likes. So, you've been tormented for nothing all these years. Hurry up and go back home to wash up and sleep. After saying this, she skipped away without waiting for Hua Jin's question. Hua Jin ran out of the palace, crying. She wanted to find her aunt and ask her clearly. Brother Ming, she couldn't possibly like someone else. It was definitely impossible. Hua Jin cried all the way to the Moon Empress' place. The Moon Empress was living alone in the courtyard outside the palace. In her free time, she planted flowers and fed the fish. She was living a carefree life. Seeing Hua Jin crying all the way, the Moon Empress was shocked. Her niece didn't like to cry. Every time she cried, it was for her son. She was crying so sadly this time. There was probably a big problem. Chapter 527. Hua Jin cried all the way to the Moon Empress's place. The Moon Empress was now living alone in the courtyard outside the palace. In her free time, she planted flowers and fed the fishes. She was living a carefree life. Seeing Hua Jin crying all the way here, the Moon Empress was shocked. Her niece did not like to cry. Every time she cried, it was for her son. Now that she was crying so sadly, there was probably a big problem. Sobbing, Hua Jin told the Moon Empress what she had heard, hoping that she could make a decision for her. Annie, you must help Hua Jin. Hua Jin has liked cousin since she was young. Hua Jin can't live without cousin. Annie, please grant Hua Jin's wish. Hua Jin cried her heart out. After all, this was her child whom she had doted on since she was young. Her heart ached a little. Hua Jin, it's not that I don't want to help you, but love can't be forced. Mingxi doesn't have you in his heart. So what can I do? The Moon Empress wiped Hua Jin's tears with a handkerchief and sighed deeply in her heart. Auntie is cousin's mother. Can't I arrange a marriage for cousin? Hua Jin had never begged the Moon Empress to help her get engaged to Mingxi, but she could not wait any longer. She was afraid that if she waited any longer, she would lose all hope. Hua Jin, I can't help you with this, the Moon Empress said with a troubled expression. Why? Annie, Don't you love Huajin anymore? Why aren't you willing to help Huajin? Huajin cried bitterly. It's not that I don't love you, but I really can't do this. Our Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom's crown prince has the freedom to choose his marriage partner. Even as the Moon Empress, I can't arrange a marriage for Mingxi. As long as Mingxi doesn't acknowledge you, this marriage won't count even if I arrange it, the Moon Empress said. How could this be? How could this be? Huajin cried bitterly. The Moon Empress had no choice but to comfort her softly. Even though it might not be of any use, Fengwu did not know what was happening in Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom. She was playing with the little bun in her room, while Xiaohua was brought to the front yard by Madame Lan, waiting for guests to come and admire the flowers. Not long after the front yard was set up, someone came to the door. It was Lady Qiu of the Qiu family, as well as the two sisters, Qiu Ruobing and Qiu Ruoshui. After that, a few more ladies came with their children to see the Flower King. In the past, the price of the Flower King would be sky high. Some big families would even spend a lot of money to buy the Flower King from its owner. This year, the Flower King fell into the Feng family's hands. The Feng family didn't need to rely on selling the Flower King to make money. No one would be so tactless as to go up and talk about buying the Flower King. Although they couldn't buy this year's Flower King, they could come and watch. More and more madams, young misses, and young masters came to admire the Flower King. These people were all here for the Flower King. There were also some who were curious about the Feng family's first daughter. Fengwu came to the front yard to show her face, but she didn't like this kind of occasion, so she left after a short while. There were hundreds of flowers in the front yard. The Flower King, Little Flower, was placed in the most eye-catching position. There was also a small defensive array around it, in case someone accidentally hurt the Flower King. The front yard was busy admiring the Flower King. Fengwu didn't want to join in the fun, so she went with her brother to participate in the trial of the thief. This was the first time Fengwu had seen this rapist, and her eyes widened in astonishment at one glance. This person was someone Fengwu was familiar with, but the way they met was a bit strange. Xiao Wu, save me. Little sister Xiao Wu. I've been wronged. Frost in June. Norville finally saw someone familiar. He was so excited that he almost cried. You're a rapist? Fengwu had learned the meaning of the word rapist from her brother's words. In the Fengwu girl's understanding, the so-called thief was someone who didn't like women, but kept pestering them to do things they didn't want to do. Mingxi didn't know how Feng Juntian had told Fengwu, but by the time Mingxi found out, that was how Fengwu had interpreted the word rapist. Of course not. Norville shook his head frantically. Little sister Xiao Wu, listen to me. I'm really not a thief. I just remembered that a few days ago, I heard that there would be a lot of beauties at the Flowertide Festival, so I wanted to come and take a look. Who knew that the moment I found a place to stay, I would be ambushed? I was drugged until I couldn't wake up. When I woke up, I found myself in some woman's room. That woman was trying her best to take off her clothes and kiss me. I couldn't dodge at all, and was about to knock her out when this brother came in and arrested me like I was a thief. Norville told Fengwu everything about his pitiful encounter. He even pointed at Feng Juntian with an aggrieved expression, his eyes full of accusation. Feng Juntian shook off the goosebumps all over his body. Wasn't it disgusting for a man to look at someone like that? This is my brother, Fengwu said. Your brother? Norville screamed in shock. What kind of fate was this? The person who arrested him like he was a thief was Fengwu's biological brother. Is what you said the truth? Feng Juntian asked. Norville nodded his head furiously. Of course it was the truth. It was truer than gold. I'll help you investigate this matter. Before I get to the bottom of it, you stay here. If it has nothing to do with you, I'll let you out. Seeing that this person knew Fengwu, Feng Juntian was still willing to help. After leaving the place where Norville was locked up, Feng Juntian began to ask about Norville. Most importantly, he asked about how the two of them met. Fengwu, of course, told him everything honestly. Feng Juntian's head was already filled with black lines when he heard how the two of them met. Since Feng Juntian had promised to investigate the truth, he would definitely investigate. After investigating for 7 days, he finally found some clues that proved that Norville wasn't the culprit. After investigating for another 3 days, he didn't know what method Feng Juntian used. In short, he found out that he wasn't the thief. It was also someone who hated him to death. When that man was arrested, Norville couldn't even remember who this guy was. Why did he hate him so much that he actually set up such a trap to frame him? I say, bro, who are you? What kind of enmity do we have? Why do you hate me so much? Norville couldn't think of who this man was. They didn't seem to know each other. Norville, you're still pretending not to know me. I'm Little A's ex-boyfriend. Ever since Little A met you, she wanted to break up with me. She even said that we don't have anything in common and don't have any feelings for each other. Fuck, I didn't say that I didn't have any feelings for her when I bought her magic medicine. I didn't say that I didn't have any feelings for her when I bought her jewelry. When she didn't need me anymore, I didn't have any feelings for her. The man yelled angrily. Little A's ex-boyfriend? If you want to take revenge, why don't you take revenge on Little A? I didn't even know that she had an ex-boyfriend. I'm so wronged. Norville was speechless. Chapter 528. Little A's ex-boyfriend? If you want to take revenge, why don't you take revenge on Little A? I didn't even know she had an ex-boyfriend. I'm so wronged. Norville was speechless. What he said was the truth. He had never heard Little A mention that she had an ex-boyfriend. He and Little A had spent a happy time together. Later on, he realized that the two of them weren't suitable for each other, so he broke up with her. As for who Little A's current boyfriend was, he didn't know. What's there to be wronged about? You bastard who stole someone else's girlfriend. You'll die a fucking horrible death. May the heavens bless you, so that you won't be able to get hard for the rest of your life. The man let out a string of curses. Just because he stole your girlfriend, you want to frame him? Feng Juntian said. Humph. The man turned his head and harumphed, not saying anything. In order to take revenge on him, you harmed several young girls in my ancient Eastern country. Your crime is unforgivable. Just wait for your verdict. Feng Juntian left with the Fengwu girl after speaking. Norville gave the other party a kick before he chased after Fengwu. He was running happily behind Fengwu. Seeing that the other party was Fengwu's senior, Feng Juntian still arranged a room for him. After that, Norville successfully stayed in the Feng residence. Because this guy had chased after countless girls, he had a way with them. No one knew how he did it, but he became Madame Lan's best friend despite their age difference. The two of them often watched romance and romance together and studied the scenes in it. If it wasn't for the age difference, everyone would probably think that the two of them were dating. Father Feng had some opinions about this. He tried to chase this guy away a few times, but to no avail. In the end, he could only stand on the side and make his presence known when Madame Lan and Norville were together. With Norville around, Madame Lan and Feng Tianqing were very affectionate during this period of time. The two of them seemed to have a second spring in their relationship. At night, Fengwu told Ming Shi everything about Norville. Ming Shi had heard of Norville's name before. He was a famous playboy in the school. That so-called Flower King really knew how to attract girls. With just one move, he managed to attract such a rotten girl. Ming Shi could only smile bitterly. He couldn't stop Fengwu from talking to Norville. Although Norville was a bit of a playboy, he still had a good character, although Ming Shi didn't want to admit it. Xiaoming, I love you. Your face is as enchanting as a flower. Your eyes are as sparkling as the stars, and your skin is as flawless as jade. Your beauty makes me fall into a trance. Every time I see you, I hear the sound of fireworks exploding in my ears. It makes me so intoxicated. At the beach, Norville was holding a girl's hand and whispering sweet nothings to her. The young girl shyly lowered her head, and her entire face was about to emit smoke. Little dream, come here. Who was this gigolo? Why are you two together? A sturdy and strong man walked over from one direction with a group of brothers. The brothers he brought with him surrounded the two of them in the middle with a seine net. XX, let me go. There are no feelings between us anymore. The one I love now is Big Brother Norville. Xiao Ming first angrily glared at the man in front of her, then said shyly, "Who is this?" Norville felt that he must be unlucky. He couldn't be so unlucky as to find a woman who was taken, right? Ever since what happened last time, he had been traumatized and didn't dare to casually hook up with women. He had observed the woman in front of him for a few days and made sure that no man had an intimate relationship with her. Only then did he try to seduce her. He didn't think that he would fail miserably. She was also a married woman. Big Brother Norville, don't misunderstand. I broke up with him a long time ago. I don't have feelings for him. Xiao Ming quickly explained, afraid that Norville would misunderstand. What do you mean you don't have feelings for me? Why didn't you say that when I bought clothes, jewelry, and medicine for you? I just went out on a mission, and you have no feelings for me? Why did these words sound so much like Sung Xiang? Norville was a little confused. XX, I said I don't have feelings for you. You don't have to say anything else. Xiao Ming said heartlessly. Not far away, some couples who were on a date were watching the show. Feng Juntian, who had brought his sister to the beach to catch crabs, also happened to see Norville being surrounded. However, he didn't have any intention of helping and only brought his beloved sister to watch the show. During this period of time, that brat had caused a lot of trouble in his family. It would be good if someone taught him a lesson. Brother, what did that brat do? Why are there so many people surrounding him? Someone curiously asked the person beside him. I heard that brat stole someone else's girlfriend. That's why his ex came looking for him. This brat is so powerful. How many times has it been? What do you mean? Does this brat often have his ex come looking for him? That's not it. However, when I was on a date with my little darling, I often saw this man bring women to the beach for a date and kiss. Just last week, I saw him go on a date with 5 different women. This is one of the 5 women. This was a hot topic. Fuck, this brat even has one a day. Can he digest so many women by himself? That's right. Isn't he afraid of grinding an iron rod into a needle? No matter what, at least this brat knows to rest for 2 days every week. I'm guessing that he must have eaten all kinds of tonics to nourish his body. Otherwise, how can his little body take it? That makes sense. That makes too much sense. My family sells all kinds of aphrodisiac. Next time, I'll look for him to promote it. Who knows, I might even get a regular customer. Someone suddenly said, your family actually sells aphrodisiac? What kind of drugs do you have? Quick, tell me. If there's any good ones, I'll go buy some. That's right. Quick, tell me. What kind of drugs do you have? This conversation was getting more and more crooked. It was all about aphrodisiac. Feng Juntian held the Fengwu girl's hand and walked past calmly. Let someone beat that beast to death. He wouldn't stop them. Fengwu and Feng Juntian happily caught crabs and barbecued them by the beach. Poor Norville, on the other hand, was beaten until his head was swollen. Even his mother wouldn't be able to recognize him when he walked on the streets. After catching crabs and eating for the whole afternoon, the Fengwu girl went home with her brother in satisfaction. While Fengwu was having a good time, Mingxi was having a little trouble. 2 days ago, there were remnants of the Blood Clan who came to assassinate the Moon Empress. In the end, Hua Jin stood in front of the Moon Empress and saved her life. After Hua Jin's life was saved, Moon Emperor asked her what she wanted and said that he would give it to her. Unexpectedly, Hua Jin directly said that she wanted to marry Mingxi. Mingxi firmly rejected her, stating that he would never marry her. However, the family behind Hua Jin was indignant. They felt that this was a chance for their family to advance further. Hence, from time to time, they would run over to help Hua Jin kick up a fuss. If they did not let Mingxi marry Hua Jin, their family would not stop making a fuss. In short, Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom was in a mess now. Mingxi, the Moon Empress, called out to her son, who was walking in front. Mother. Mingxi bowed respectfully to his mother. Mingxi, can't you try to accept Hua Jin? She's a good child. The 2 of you will definitely be happy together. The Moon Empress tried to persuade her son. My marriage is not a tool to repay a debt of gratitude, Mingxi said indifferently. Don't you like Hua Jin at all? That child grew up with you. You really can't bear to give her a chance. The Moon Empress said. I don't like her. The gentle smile on Ming Shi's face disappeared as he said these three words. Okay, you don't like her, but she saved Mother. For Mother's sake, can't you try to accept her? The Moon Empress' voice had a hint of pleading. She knew how much Hua Jin loved Ming Shi. That child had been seriously injured in order to save her. If marrying Ming Shi was her only wish, the Moon Empress would definitely think of a way to fulfill it for her. No, I've already said that marriage is not a tool to repay a debt of gratitude. With that, he turned around and left without waiting for the Moon Empress to say anything else. Not long after Ming Shi left, he was called into the study by Moon Emperor. Father, if you're here to persuade me to marry Hua Jin, then you don't have to say anything, Ming Shi said seriously as he looked at Moon Emperor. Do you dislike Hua Jin that much? Moon Emperor smiled gently. Moon Emperor was born with 50% resemblance to Ming Shi, while the other 50% resembled the Moon Empress. Their genes were simply too strong to give birth to a youth as beautiful as Ming Shi. Ming Shi did not say anything and only lowered his head to look at the floor. Forget it. When have I ever forced you to do something you don't want to do? Marriage is decided by every Moon Emperor. Back then, when I chose your mother to be the Moon Empress, didn't I choose it myself? No matter who you choose to be the Moon Empress in the future, as long as it's someone you like, I'll support you, Moon Emperor said lovingly. Thank you, Father, for granting my wish. Ming Shi finally raised his head and looked at Moon Emperor with a smile in his eyes. We, the four rulers, shoulder the heavy responsibility of protecting the human world. As long as we don't shoulder this heavy responsibility, we won't be free for a moment. Marriage is the only chance for us four rulers to freely choose. We can't choose to avoid the responsibility of protecting the human world, but we can still choose a queen we like. If we lose this little bit of freedom, what's the point of sitting in this position? Don't blame your mother. She's a good person, but she misses her family a little. If she comes to persuade you to marry Hua Jin, just pretend that you didn't hear her. I'll settle the rest for you, Moon Emperor said. Father. Ming Shi looked at his father, touched. The father and son were filled with silent warmth. Hua Jin's family came to create trouble a few times, but they were severely punished by the usually good-tempered Moon Emperor. This time, Hua Jin's family did not dare to provoke Moon Emperor, so they could only let Hua Jin's mother, who was the Moon Empress' sister, pester the Moon Empress. The Moon Empress was pestered every day. She wanted to talk to her son, but her son ignored her. She wanted to talk to her husband about the marriage, but her husband pretended not to hear. She did not know what she had done wrong. Why did both father and son treat her like this? Chapter 529. Hua Jin's family came to cause trouble a few more times, but they were severely punished by the good-tempered Moon Emperor. This time, Hua Jin's family did not dare to provoke Moon Emperor, so they could only let Hua Jin's mother, who was also the Moon Empress' sister, pester the Moon Empress. The Moon Empress was pestered every day. She wanted to talk to her son, but her son ignored her. She wanted to talk to her husband about the marriage, but her husband pretended not to hear. She did not know what she had done wrong. Why did both father and son treat her like this? Later on, the Moon Empress was so annoyed that she had no choice but to avoid meeting Hua Jin's family. Hua Jin's mother went to look for Hua Jin's grandmother. Hua Jin's grandmother had always doted on Hua Jin the most, even more than Princess Beat. When Hua Jin's grandmother found out about the matter, she insisted that the Moon Empress let Ming Shi marry Hua Jin. If Ming Shi did not marry her, he would be considered ungrateful and would be criticized behind his back. Ming Shi was the future Moon Emperor. He couldn't be an ungrateful person. The Moon Empress was dizzy from her mother's nagging. Ming Shi refused to meet her, and Moon Emperor said that he was very busy. She could not voice her grievances, and in the end, the Moon Empress did not want to help Hua Jin anymore. Although the Moon Empress liked Hua Jin and wanted to help her family, she had to be willing to help. However, this half-forced method was really unpleasant, especially when her sister even invited her mother over and insisted that Ming Shi marry Hua Jin. Although the Moon Empress had tolerated her sister and her relatives because of kinship, it did not mean that she had no bottom line and would continue to tolerate it. Now, she was already annoyed by her family. Her mother only wanted to help Hua Jin fulfill his wish. But had she ever thought of her helplessness as the Moon Empress? She was the Moon Empress, but she could not abuse her power to arrange for her niece to be the Moon Empress for the future Moon Emperor. There were so many generations of Moon Empresses in history, but which one of them could not differentiate between public and private matters? The Moon Thearch's spouse could only be chosen by himself. It was her sister and the others who were in the wrong, but her mother was still helping them. This made the Moon Empress even more depressed. For the sake of Hua Jin, she had caused her husband and sons to treat her coldly. Even her daughter and sons avoided her whenever they saw her, for fear that she would set her sights on them. Why did she end up like this? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it wasn't worth it. At night, Moon Emperor looked at Moon Empress, who was sitting in front of the dressing table in a daze. He slowly walked over and hugged her from behind. Why? Have you thought it through? The Moon Thearch hugged the Moon Empress' waist and asked gently, "During this period of time, I have let you and our son down." The Moon Empress admitted her mistake honestly. "It's good that you know you're in the wrong. I'll help you get rid of them tomorrow, but you can't be soft-hearted again." Moon King made things clear. How would the Moon Empress dare to be soft-hearted? She had ended up like this because she was soft-hearted toward Hua Jin. After being tortured for so many days, how would she dare to be soft-hearted again? "I won't do it again. You must help me. I'm about to be annoyed to death by Mother and the others." The Moon Empress felt wronged. "All right, I'll settle it," Moon King promised. The Moon Empress snuggled into his arms. The husband and wife hugged each other silently, talking about intimate things between husband and wife. Fengwu had been playing like crazy during this period of time. Sometimes, her brother would bring her to the beach to catch fish and crabs. Other times, Norville would bring her to the streets to eat and watch performances. Madame Lan would also bring her to buy clothes and watch operas. After her life became too colorful, the Fengwu girl's appetite increased again. Although her appetite increased, her weight did not change at all. This made Norville very suspicious of where the Fengwu girl's stomach led to. Today, Fengwu was taking a walk in the garden with the little bun. Unexpectedly, someone came to look for her. It was Qiu Ruoshui, who was with her. "What's the matter?" Fengwu couldn't figure out why this person came to look for her. She clearly remembered that this person hated her. Fengwu blinked. She couldn't figure it out. "I'm here to look for you. Do you still remember Ning Bai?" Qiu Ruoshui suddenly asked. Who was it? Fengwu searched her memory but still couldn't figure out who she knew. Thus, she shook her head honestly. "You don't even remember Ning Bai? Ning Bai was so protective of you when you were young. This is Ning Bai's wedding invitation. She asked me to give it to you. She said that she hoped that her wedding would be completed with the blessings of all her relatives and friends. Thus, she hopes that you can go," Qiu Ruoshui said. If she didn't promise Ning Bai, she wouldn't want to have anything to do with Fengwu. Fengwu took it in a daze. Even after Qiu Ruoshui left for a while, she still couldn't figure out who Ning Bai was. Later, it was Madame Lan who told Fengwu that Ning Bai was a good friend of the original Fengwu's when she was young. Later, Ning Bai's family moved to another place and didn't move back until a few months ago. Madame Lan knew that Fengwu received Ning Bai's wedding invitation. She agreed that Fengwu should go and observe other people's weddings. This way, she wouldn't be flustered when she got married. Fengwu only heard that she was going to observe other people's weddings. This reason successfully convinced the Fengwu girl. She still didn't know how people here got married. She had to go and observe so that when she married Mingxi in the future, she would know what to do. The wedding wasn't held in Ning Bai's house. It was held in another city where the groom's family lived. Ning Bai's future husband was a senior she met in school. The two of them had a very good relationship. Both families were very satisfied with this marriage. 3 days before the wedding, Fengwu arrived at the city where Ning Bai's wedding was held. Ning Bai's family had already arranged rooms for the guests who came to observe the wedding to stay. Fengwu and Qiu Ruoshui were assigned to 2 rooms next to each other. Fengwu didn't care, But Xiao Ruoshui couldn't wait to change rooms. She really wanted to find someone to change rooms. However, Ningbai's family told her that there were no more rooms. Xiao Ruoshui had to give up. Unwillingly, she lived next to Fengwu. Just when everyone was waiting for the wedding, something happened to the groom unexpectedly. When Ningbai and her fiancé went out in a carriage, they encountered a landslide. Ningbai's fiancé protected Ningbai at the last moment. However, he hit his head on a huge rock and died on the spot. Now, the wedding became a funeral. The guests who came to observe the wedding didn't have to go back. They directly changed from attending the wedding to attending the funeral. During the funeral, Ningbai cried so hard that she almost fainted. Xiao Ruoshui and a few other friends who were close to her kept comforting her, but it didn't work. On the night of the funeral, Ningbai cut her wrist to commit suicide. Although she didn't die, her parents were so frightened that they didn't dare to leave her alone. After the funeral, her parents immediately took her back to the imperial city. They didn't dare to leave her in the city full of her fiancés. After Fengwu came back, she told them what happened. The Feng family sighed. A wedding turned into a funeral. Ningbai's life was too hard. How could a girl like her bear such a big blow? Madame Lan sympathized with Ningbai very much. She asked Fengwu to accompany her when she was free. She also asked the kitchen to make some tonics and asked Fengwu to send them to Ningbai's house. Although Ningbai lost her fiancé, she still had a lot of friends who cared about her. Ningbai was a cute girl since she was young. She was born with a baby voice and looked like a doll. She was simply a human-shaped doll. Her cuteness was off the charts. It was rare that she was so popular. If the original Feng Wu was a child that everyone hated when she was young, then Ningbai was definitely the kind of child that people wanted to give her their hearts and livers when they saw her. She was loved by everyone. Not only was Ningbai cute, but she also had a good personality. She was lively and kind. She was very likable. Everyone said that such a good girl like Ningbai had encountered such a misfortune. It was so pitiful. Many people cared about Ningbai. From time to time, people would send her some small gifts or chat with her. Under everyone's care, Ningbai muddle-headed for a whole month. A month later, Ningbai invited a few of her closest friends to go to Autumn Mountain outside the city to play. It was the best time to climb the mountain and look into the distance. Hearing Ningbai's invitation, everyone agreed at once. There were 7 people who were closest to Ningbai. They were all close to her since she was young. The original Fengwu was one of them. Autumn Mountain was a mountain with beautiful scenery. The scenery on the mountain was picturesque. Fengwu came to Autumn Mountain with the others. It was the 3rd time that Fengwu had come to Autumn Mountain. Her brother had brought her here twice before. The 8 of them climbed to the top of the mountain from the foot of the mountain. The scenery on the top of the mountain was even more beautiful. They could see the boundless blue sky and white clouds as well as the beautiful imperial city at the foot of the mountain. 2 girls who came with them took out the sketchboards they had prepared to draw. Fengwu took out a lot of delicious food. She found a floral cloth and spread it on the ground. Then, she sat on it and began to eat. Seeing that Fengwu had prepared so many things, everyone thought that she had prepared for everyone. Now, except for the 2 girls who were drawing, the others all gathered around. They ate all the food that Fengwu had prepared for them. Fengwu was not happy that her food was stolen by others. After eating and drinking, everyone went down the mountain together. They didn't walk on the main road because Ningbai wanted to take a small path to change her mood. Since they were here to accompany her to relax, they just let her be. Not long after, it started to drizzle. Then, the rain got heavier and heavier. Everyone found a cave to take shelter from the rain. They didn't know who had lived in this cave before. There were a lot of dry straws and some unburned firewood on the ground. It was much more convenient to have firewood. Everyone immediately started a fire. They were a little cold after being drenched in the rain. Fengwu wasn't cold. In fact, she didn't get wet. She remembered that she had made a shield with her warrior energy. Therefore, she didn't get wet at all. The others weren't so lucky. Many of them found a place to take shelter from the rain by reflex. They totally forgot that they could make a shield. Among the 8 of them, except for a few who reacted quickly, almost all of them got wet. The rain kept falling and didn't show any signs of stopping. Everyone was bored sitting together. Bai Ning suggested that they should gather together and tell a story. Moreover, it should be a scary story. The girls had always loved and hated this kind of story. Of course, they all agreed. Chapter 530. It kept raining and didn't look like it was going to stop anytime soon. Since it was boring for everyone to sit together, Bai Ning suggested that everyone should gather together and tell a story. Moreover, it should be a scary story. The girls had a love-hate relationship with such stories, so they all agreed. The 8 girls gathered together and took turns to tell ghost stories. Screams and laughter could be heard from time to time in the cave. Even Ning Bai, who had been frowning for the past month, felt much happier. At the very least, everyone could finally see her smiling face. Ning Bai's smile made them feel more relaxed. At least she was in a good mood now. They didn't need to worry that she would slit her own throat in a place they couldn't see. Fengwu wasn't worried about Ning Bai because she didn't know Ning Bai. The one who knew Ning Bai was the former Fengwu, not the current Fengwu. During this period, Fengwu often went to play with Ning Bai, but Ning Bai didn't talk to her most of the time. Fengwu couldn't make friends with her. In other people's eyes, Fengwu was either concerned about Ning Bai's supplements or was in a daze with Ning Bai, so they naturally regarded her as Ning Bai's good friend. Even Ning Bai's parents were glad that Ning Bai had such a good friend. Fengwu didn't even know when she became Ning Bai's good friend. They played with Ning Bai until the evening and then went home. Fengwu and the others didn't know that half an hour after they left, a beautiful girl walked into the cave. Great! I finally found it. It's the wish stone left by the god of death in the human world. The girl was Irene. During this period, Irene tried her best to recall the lucky chances that hadn't appeared in the novel. After thinking for a while, she suddenly remembered that there was indeed a lucky chance on the autumn mountain outside the imperial city of the ancient eastern country. In the novel, there was a girl who wasn't even a supporting female character. She was at most a passerby cannon fodder. She even forgot the name of the cannon fodder. She only knew that the girl found a black stone in this place, which was called the wish stone of the god of death. As long as you use this stone, you can make a wish to the stone god and revive anyone you want to revive. That girl had once used that stone to make a wish. She wanted to revive her fiancé. Death had granted her wish, but she had to use the souls of 7 of her best friends or closest relatives in exchange. The girl chose 7 of her closest friends and used them as sacrifices to let the Grim Reaper take away their souls. When the souls of the 7 girls were taken away, the girl's wish came true. Her fiancé came back to life. However, the girl did not live a happy life with her fiancé because the 7 people she killed were not ordinary people. The 7 families started to investigate this matter, and very soon, they cast their suspicious gazes on the girl. Later on, the girl's family was exterminated, and she and her fiancé died in the hands of the furious 7 great families. As for Ziqing, there was a period of time when he had the idea of getting that stone. Later on, she really did find it. Later on, when they were out training, the male lead died trying to save the female lead. She used 7 of her so-called good friends who had a favorability of more than 90 points to revive the male lead. Because the female lead was the female lead, she did not have to worry about being avenged by those families. Anyway, those 7 people were dead. At most, they would shed 2 drops of crocodile tears. When the novel described this part, it mainly talked about Ziqing's helplessness and sadness and the pain of his friends' deaths. What she wanted to do now was to find the Stone of Death before Ziqing. Fortunately, the novel said that the stone did not appear in this place for the first time. Irene looked around the cave, but found nothing. She removed the straw on the ground and was shocked to find something that should not have appeared at this time. Soul Sacrifice Array. Of course, Fengwu did not know what happened in the cave. At this moment, she was sleeping on her comfortable bed and chatting with Mingxi about what happened today. Mingxi also sympathized with Ning Bai. Although he had not experienced it, he could imagine how painful it was to lose a fiancé before the wedding. Although he sympathized with Ning Bai, Mingxi did not want Fengwu to tire herself out because of other people's matters. The two did not chat for long. Because Fengwu was a little tired, she fell asleep soon after. 2 days had passed since they returned from Autumn Mountain. Fengwu's days were still so leisurely. Every day was not boring. Norville continued to seduce beauties. Occasionally, he would be unlucky and meet someone who was already taken. He would become the third party and be chased by his ex for a few streets. Fengwu's family had already gotten used to Norville turning into a pig's head every 2 to 3 days. Just as she brought Little Bun to the beach to play, Feng Juntian told her something big. That day, a girl who went to Autumn Mountain with them fell into the water and drowned. She was smiling when she died. It was very eerie. Fengwu went to the girl's funeral. There were many people there. Fengwu and Madame Lan comforted the madam and sent the daughter off before returning home with Madame Lan. However, Fengwu did not know that this was just the beginning. Every few days, someone would die, and those who died were all people who went to Autumn Mountain with them. In just half a month, a total of 5 people had died. Only Qiu Ruoshui, Fengwu, and Ning Bai survived. Today, Qiu Ruoshui could not hold it in anymore and came to Fengwu. Qiu Ruoshui was invited into Fengwu's room. In Fengwu's room, Qiu Ruoshui saw Fengwu's son. This child was very beautiful and could melt anyone's heart with just one look. Unfortunately, no matter how cute the child was, she was not in the mood to admire him. She sat down with Fengwu with a pale face. The moment she sat down, she poured herself a large glass of water and gulped it down. "Aren't you afraid? How can you still be so calm?" Qiu Ruoshui said angrily. Afraid of what? What did she need to be afraid of? Fengwu tilted her head. And the others are all dead. Why don't you feel anything? Don't you think their deaths are too strange? Do you still remember the ghost story we told you that day? The way they died was exactly the same as the main characters in the story. Isn't it our turn next? Qiu Ruoshui kept rubbing her hands. Her forehead was already covered in cold sweat. She could not understand why such a terrifying thing would happen on a trip to Qiu Mountain. Fengwu did not think too much about it at first. Only now did she realize that it seemed like that was really the case. After thinking for a while, Fengwu stood up suddenly, giving Qiu Ruoshui a fright. "What are you doing?" Qiu Ruoshui asked with her arms crossed. "Looking for brother?" If there was a problem, she would look for her brother. Her brother would definitely be able to help. Then, Qiu Ruoshui saw that Fengwu had found Feng Juntian. After hearing what had happened, Feng Juntian's expression was grave. "Why didn't you say so earlier? 5 people had already died. Why did she only tell him such a big thing now?" "I didn't notice," Fengwu said honestly. She did not notice that the way those people died was exactly the same as in the story. If she had known, she would have come to find her brother long ago. "What about you? Did you tell Ruobai?" Feng Juntian turned to ask Qiu Ruoshui. Qiu Ruoshui shook her head. It was not that she did not want to tell her brother, but her brother had been very busy recently. Her grandfather did not allow her to disturb him. She wanted to find her father, but her father was not at home. Her mother had returned to her maternal home, and her grandfather was in seclusion. She did not have anyone to discuss this with. Thus, she was scared witless and came to find Fengwu, who was also waiting for death. "I understand. I will help you contact Ruobai later." "Have you been to Ningbai's place?" Feng Juntian asked again. "I have, but she is not at home. I heard from her parents that Ningbai has been missing for 2 to 3 days. Her family is also looking for her. I am worried that Ningbai might have already." Qiu Ruoshui could not continue. Tears flowed down her face. She was scared to death. Facing the known was not scary. What was scary was the unknown. "The two of you follow me?" Feng Juntian said as he turned and walked out of the door. Fengwu and Qiu Ruoshui followed him obediently. "Brother Juntian, where are we going?" Qiu Ruoshui chased after them and asked. "We're going to the cave where you guys told the story," Feng Juntian said without turning his head. The 3 of them spent a lot of effort and finally arrived at the cave on the path of Autumn Mountain. After the 3 of them entered, Qiu Ruoshui immediately noticed that the cave was different. Strange, what is this thing below? It was not here the last time we were here. Qiu Ruoshui swept away the straw blocking the way and immediately discovered the black array below. If someone had not moved the straw first, Qiu Ruoshui definitely would not have discovered that there was a magic array hidden under the straw. Feng Juntian carefully inspected the magic array. This magic array was very strange. He had never seen such a magic array before. The entire magic array was black. Just looking at it gave off a gloomy feeling. Just based on the feeling, he felt that this magic array was not something good. It was very likely an evil magic array. 5 of the girls who came with Fengwu and the others had died in a short time. Could their deaths be related to this magic array? Feng Juntian found a piece of paper and drew out the magic array stroke by stroke. He did not understand what kind of magic array it was, but there was bound to be someone who could understand it. As long as they understood the mysteries of this magic array, Xiao Wu would definitely be fine. Feng Juntian finished drawing the magic array diagram and was about to leave. He did not expect that just as he walked to the door, he would see a girl rushing over. The person who came was Irene. The last time she came here to look for something, she had dropped her things here. This time, she came back to look for it. She did not expect to meet someone here. Xiao Wu. Irene did not expect to meet Fengwu in a place like this. Irene! Fengwu was also surprised to see Irene. You know her? Feng Juntian asked Fengwu. Classmate. Fengwu said. Classmate again. Thinking about Norville, who was still at home, she hoped that there would not be any troublesome people coming this time. Chapter 531. Irene also curiously sized up the man in front of her. Although she didn't know who he was, he seemed to be very familiar with Fengwu. Could he be a relative of Fengwu's? So Miss Irene is Xiao Wu's classmate. I am Xiao Wu's older brother, Feng Juntian. Miss Irene has taken care of my younger sister in school. Feng Juntian looked at Irene with a serious expression as he spoke. Irene believed that the two of them must be blood-related siblings. Both of them had stoic faces, one more expressionless than the other. However, she said, "You're too kind. Xiao has also taken care of me a lot." May I know why Miss Irene has come here? Feng Juntian asked without batting an eyelid. She rushed here in such a hurry. Could it be that it had something to do with the array diagram in the cave? I accidentally left something in this cave a few days ago. I remembered it today and rushed here to look for it. Irene said, "Is this what you left?" Feng Juntian was holding a round pearl in his hand. This pearl was snow white and was the size of an egg. The pearl emitted a gentle white light around it. When the 5 elemental magic energy came into contact with this pearl, it would be absorbed by the pearl. All kinds of strange phenomena showed that this pearl was definitely not an ordinary item. My demon-gathering orb, Aaron exclaimed in surprise. This demon-gathering pearl was a magic tool that she had recently obtained. Normally, she could gather the 5 elements spirit chi into this pearl. When she was in battle, it could ensure that the magic power in her body would not be exhausted. It was a rare auxiliary magic tool. She had just obtained this pearl a few days ago. She had kept it on her body and hadn't had the time to move it into her space. She didn't expect that she would lose this magic tool after coming to this cave. Irene had searched all the places she had been before, and this cave was the only place she hadn't searched. She didn't expect that she would really lose it here. Moreover, it was Fengwu's older brother who had found it. This bead is not bad. It is a rare support-type magic tool. Use it well in the future. It will be of great help to you. Feng Juntian wasn't a greedy person, and sword masters never relied on external items. Although the demon-gathering pearl was useful to sword masters, Feng Juntian wouldn't go as far as to take someone else's demonic weapon for himself, just for a demonic weapon. Thank you, Brother Feng. Taking the demon-gathering pearl from Feng Juntian, Xiao Chen sighed inwardly. As expected of the successor of a super family, Feng Juntian's vision was truly extraordinary. He had even returned such a precious demon-gathering pearl just like that. If it were anyone else, let alone returning it, they probably wouldn't even acknowledge it. I heard from young Miss Irene that you came here a few days ago. Feng Juntian asked. Big brother Feng, just call me Irene. I did come here a few days ago. There was nothing to hide. So Irene nodded and admitted. Then I wonder if you, Irene, have seen the array diagram drawn on the ground in the cave? Why are you asking about the soul sacrifice array? Irene didn't expect him to ask this, so she replied without thinking. The moment she said that, she realized that she had said the wrong thing. She shouldn't have recognized the soul sacrifice array. If she said the name of the array now, she was afraid that if something happened in the future, she would be blamed for the deaths caused by the soul sacrifice array. Wouldn't she be wrongly accused then? However, it was too late to change her mind now. Feng Juntian wasn't the only one who heard what she said. Even Feng Wu and Xiao Ruoshui heard it. You really recognize the array inside? What the hell is this array? Is it related to you? Are you related to one and the other's deaths? Hurry up and tell me. Answer me. Without waiting for Feng Juntian to ask, Xiao Ruoshui took a big step forward and shook Irene's shoulder. Irene was dizzy from her shaking and swatted her hand away. Feng Juntian felt that Irene was a little rash. They still couldn't be sure if Irene was related to this matter, so it was a little too much for her to rush up and question her like this. Thus, he held Xiao Ruoshui's shoulders with both hands and held her in place, not allowing her to rush up again. Big brother Juntian, let go of me. I must get to the bottom of this today. Let go of me, Xiao Ruoshui shouted as she struggled. All right, calm down. Let me do the asking, Feng Juntian said in a low voice. Xiao Ruoshui was still a little afraid of Feng Juntian, so she obediently shut her mouth and didn't dare to speak anymore. Seeing that she had calmed down, Feng Juntian let go of the hands he used to hold Xiao Ruoshui in place, and stood with his hands behind his back. Irene, how did you know the name of the array in the cave? Feng Juntian didn't know what the array was, but Irene did. This made people think deeply. Feng Juntian was born in the Feng clan, which was a superpower. He was also one of the young and promising Star Hall Star Generals. Logically speaking, Feng Juntian's knowledge should be higher than Irene's. But now, facing this array, Feng Juntian couldn't see anything. Instead, a junior student from Notre Dame du Starlight was able to see through it. No matter how one looked at it, there was something fishy about it. Actually, it was a coincidence that I knew about the array. A year ago, I was fortunate enough to explore the tomb of an ancient magician. That magician just happened to be an array master. I found a book in that tomb that recorded the blueprints of several forbidden arrays from ancient times. At that time, I felt that if those blueprints fell into the hands of others, it would be a disaster, so I burned the blueprints after reading it once. I didn't expect that a few days ago, when I was passing by Autumn Mountain, I coincidentally entered this cave and found the array on the ground. The moment I saw the array, I could tell that it was a forbidden array from ancient times, the soul-sacrificing array. Although it was hard to verify whether Irene's words were true or false, Feng Juntian still felt that there was no need for her to lie. He was afraid that the array drawn here really had nothing to do with her. However, this girl came to Autumn Mountain alone and just happened to find the array. She even knew what kind of array it was. Wasn't this all too much of a coincidence? Although Feng Juntian's suspicions hadn't been dispelled, he didn't show it. Instead, he continued to ask, "You said that this is the soul-sacrificing array. What is the use of this array?" Irene thought about it and said, "Just the soul-sacrificing array alone is useless. This array needs to awaken a treasure from the underworld to be effective." "What is it?" Feng Juntian asked. "The Death God's wishing stone." "What's that?" Xiao Ruoshui stood at the side and listened. Although she didn't completely believe Irene, she wasn't as agitated as before. Feng Wu stood obediently at the side and didn't ask any questions. She just listened. It was no wonder that they didn't know. If she hadn't read the original text, she wouldn't have known that there really was a method of exchanging a life for a life in this world. She also wouldn't have known that there was such an evil treasure as the Death God's wishing stone in this world. The death god's wishing stone is a stone that the death god left behind in the human world. However, this stone is very unusual. It is a stone that contains the stone god's divine power. Anyone who obtains this wishing stone can make a wish and use it to revive anyone who wants to be revived. Chapter 5:33. It was just that they didn't know when the Grim Reaper's divine sense would appear and harm Xiao Ruoshui and Fengwu. Feng Juntian and Xiao Ruobai thought of destroying the magic formation to prevent the Grim Reaper's divine sense from coming. Unfortunately, Irene, who had read the original text, clearly told them that it was useless. The Grim Reaper's divine sense had already arrived, but he hadn't done anything yet. When the 7 of them died, the divine sense would naturally disappear, and there was no need to report back. So, it was already too late to destroy the magic formation now. Before Fengwu went to bed at night, she honestly told Mingxi everything. Mingxi was inexplicably shocked and worried. Mingxi only told Fengwu to wait for him and turned off the communication crystal. Fengwu fell asleep happily. Thinking that Mingxi was coming, she was happy and didn't feel that she was being targeted by the Grim Reaper at all. This night passed very slowly. The Feng family and Qiu family didn't dare to sleep. Now, the strongest person in the Qiu family was not here, and the elders were all in seclusion. Unless something big happened that would endanger the Feng family's 1,000 years of foundation, the elders wouldn't appear. For Qiu Ruoshui, the possibility of them appearing was not big. Now, they could only stay in the Feng family and stay with the Feng family. At least, Master Feng, the Sword Saint, and the Feng family head were strong. With them around, they could stop the Grim Reaper. The Feng family didn't care too much about the Qiu family's thoughts. They just stated that if anything happened to Qiu Ruoshui and the Feng family, the Qiu family wouldn't bite back. Madame Lan was unhappy. What did they mean by bite back? Who did they think they were? But for her daughter, she endured it. Originally, she planned to wait for her husband to come back and ask for an explanation if anything happened to her daughter in the Feng family. She didn't expect that the Feng family would directly block her path. The Feng and Qiu clans didn't dare to sleep, and neither could Mingxi. After ending the call with Fengwu, Mingxi didn't delay and immediately informed Moon Emperor that he would be leaving the Silver Moon Kingdom. However, he would be back as soon as possible. When Mingxi suddenly said that he wanted to leave, it gave Moon King and Moon Empress a fright. Where do you want to go? Your hand still needs to recuperate for a few months. Your hand is so badly injured. Where else do you want to go? The Moon Empress thought that her son was still angry with her and was worried about her son's health. She felt bitter in her heart. Your mother is right. Your body hasn't fully recovered yet. If there's anything urgent, you can ask someone else to do it for you. If you're in the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom, you can always find someone to help you. The Moon Emperor did not approve of his son going out at this time. Mingxi's hands were seriously injured. The heavenly official and the priest came out together, and it was not easy to save his arms. The last time he went out, his hand injury relapsed. He didn't dare to let his son go out again. Father, mother, I have something important to do. I must leave. Time is tight, so I can't say more. Wait for me to come back, and I will tell you in detail. Mingxi bowed deeply and ignored his parents' calls. He immediately took Skycliff to the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom's teleportation formation and went to the Ancient Eastern Kingdom. The Moon Emperor and Moon Empress couldn't stop their son in time. They could only watch as their son left. After Mingxi left, the Moon Emperor asked someone to ask about Mingxi's whereabouts. In the end, the guard guarding the teleportation formation said that Mingxi went to the Ancient Eastern Kingdom. As for why Mingxi went to the Ancient Eastern Kingdom, the Moon Emperor and Moon Empress didn't know. Fengwu was playing with Little Yi in her room. She didn't know what was going on outside. Bao Bao stayed at home to play with Little Yi. The two of them were playing happily. After knowing that Fengwu was plotted against so viciously, Bao Bao didn't feel good. Which bitch dared to ask for his master? Bao Bao immediately used his natural ability to divine. When he saw that there was nothing wrong, he was relieved. That was the god of death's divine sense. Although the god of death was only a god in the underworld, he didn't come out. But the god of death's divine sense was undeniably strong. In the human world, other than Star Hall and Notre Dame du Starlight, who else could stop it? Maybe the four great emperors could. Although the four great emperors weren't orthodox gods, they had the bloodline of the god prince. This bloodline was more noble than many gods. If one of the four great emperors made a move, it wasn't impossible to stop it. However, whether it was the four great emperors or the Star Hall and Notre Dame du Starlight, it wasn't very realistic. Those people weren't people who could be invited just because they wanted to. If Mingxi wasn't injured, he could come and try. But Mingxi hadn't officially inherited the position of emperor and hadn't been baptized by the moonlight. His ability couldn't be compared to the four great emperors. Other than these people, who else could it be? Bao Bao rubbed his chin and thought. When he saw Little Bun rubbing his eyes on the bed, his eyes lit up. Wasn't there a good candidate? Who could be stronger than this little guy? Although he was still young and less than 1/1,000,000th of his heyday, it wasn't impossible to deal with the god of death's divine sense. Thinking of this, Bao Bao flew to Little Bun's ear with a sneaky smile and chattered for a while. Little Bun finally nodded with a serious face. He didn't know what agreement these two little cute things had reached. The Fengwu girl didn't know anything about all this. She sat alone by the window, waiting for Mingxi's arrival. Mingxi's movements were very fast. It only took him 2 hours to arrive at Fengwu's door. Late at night, the servants of the Feng family were already asleep. The door was locked. Mingxi didn't want to disturb the Feng family, so he secretly entered the Feng family. However, Mingxi didn't know that in order to prevent the god of death's divine sense from coming, the Feng family had specially activated all the defensive formations. Although this formation might not be able to defend against anything, it was good to have a psychological comfort. As soon as Mingxi entered the backyard, this formation was activated. In just a few breaths, 2 powerful auras locked onto Mingxi, and attacks came one after another. Mingxi immediately knew that the 2 people who came were probably the 2 strongest people in the Feng family, Feng Wuliu and Feng Tianxing. How could they come so quickly? Mingxi was a little surprised, but his reaction wasn't slow, and he dodged the attacks of the 2 people. At this time, Skycliff rushed over and protected Mingxi behind him. He didn't want him to attack again to prevent the injury on his hand from worsening. Elder Feng and the Feng family, I'm sorry to disturb you so late at night. I've disturbed your rest. Mingxi let Skycliff retreat to the side. He had seen these 2 people before. Just now, he thought that they didn't recognize him. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't attack him. Mingxi guessed correctly. The Feng father and son really didn't recognize him. They would never have dreamed that the future Moon Emperor of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom would sneak into their Feng family's backyard instead of the main entrance. Chapter 534. He had seen these 2 people before. They probably didn't recognize him just now. Otherwise, they would never fight with him. Mingxi really guessed it right. The Feng father and son really didn't recognize him. They probably never dreamed that the future Moon Emperor of the Silver Moon Ancient Kingdom would sneak into their Feng family's backyard instead of going through the front door. Prince Mingxi, under the faint moonlight, Feng Wuliu and Feng Tianxing finally saw the appearance of the person in front of them. Isn't this person Prince Mingxi whom we met last time? Feng Zi and Feng Tianxing were surprised. Fortunately, the father and son were not ordinary people. They quickly restrained their emotions and respectfully bowed to Mingxi. We didn't know your highness was here. Feng family didn't welcome you. I came suddenly. It has nothing to do with the Feng family. Mingxi said. The Feng father and son were curious about Mingxi's intention. Mingxi was also hesitating about how to explain to the Feng father and son why he came to this place. Skycliff stood quietly on the side, as if what happened now had nothing to do with him. As long as the Feng father and son didn't threaten Mingxi's safety, he didn't care about other things. The Feng father and son were still talking to Mingxi in the backyard. In Feng Wu's room, a mysterious figure suddenly appeared that no one noticed. Only a rough outline of this figure could be seen. It could be seen that he was wearing a black cloak and holding a huge scythe as tall as a person. His whole body was hidden under the cloak. When he raised his head, he could only see a cloud of black mist under the cloak. He couldn't even see a human figure. Needless to say, this figure was the god of death's divine sense. This divine sense wasn't here to kill Fengwu, but to kill Qiu Ruoshui. Qiu Ruoshui didn't dare to stay alone because she heard the movement just now. She went to Fengwu's room and didn't go out no matter what. Fengwu just pretended not to see her. She sat on the bed and played happily with Little Bun. The Grim Reaper appeared and disappeared from Fengwu's room in less than a breath of time. It was as if he had never appeared. Not long after the Grim Reaper left, dark clouds gathered in the sky, and it began to rain heavily. The rain came suddenly, and the sound of lightning and thunder could be heard incessantly. Qiu Ruoshui was so scared that her face turned pale. She remembered the story she told. Wasn't the main character of the story struck to death by lightning? The Grim Reaper had come to take her away. That must be it. That must be it. The Grim Reaper is coming to take me away. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Save me. Save me, Fengwu. I don't want to die. Brother, where are you? Where are you? Qiu Ruoshui was so scared that she threw herself on Fengwu's bed. She lifted the quilt and wrapped herself up. She hid under the quilt and cried. Qiu Ruoshui had always been an arrogant girl. She was not a girl who liked to cry. However, what she was facing now was too terrible. She was terrified. She was afraid that the Grim Reaper would really come to take her away. She was afraid that she would become one of those people when she thought of the death of others. Qiu Ruoshui thought of Ning Bai, who had put her in this situation. Ning Bai was her best friend when she was young. She had always cherished this friendship. However, Ning Bai betrayed her childhood friend without hesitation for a man. If the person Qiu Ruoshui hated most before was Fengwu, then Ning Bai was honored to push Fengwu down from the top of Qiu Ruoshui's blacklist in her heart. Qiu Ruoshui's character was very extreme. It could be said that she wanted someone to live if she loved someone, and she wanted someone to die if she hated someone. This kind of hatred made her hate someone to death. Now, Qiu Ruoshui hated Ning Bai to death. When they were in Mount Qiu Ruoshui still had many doubts, puzzles, and doubts. However, after various investigations, it was proved that the person who had hurt them was Ning Bai. Some people even saw Ning Bai go to Mount Qiu alone 2 days before the 8 of them went to Mount Qiu. She stayed there for a long time before coming down. Ning Bai's fiancé's body also disappeared mysteriously. Her fiancé's family also failed to find him after searching for a long time. It caused a big sensation in the local area. When Ning Bai's fiancé's body disappeared, some people even saw Ning Bai go to the graveyard. With all these things added together, Qiu Ruoshui couldn't find an excuse for Ning Bai even if she wanted to. All these proved that Ning Bai was the one who had hurt them, which made Qiu Ruoshui unable to suppress the hatred in her heart. She was sincere to Ning Bai and treated her as her best friend. However, she had never thought that she would be set up like this. She hated Ning Bai as a friend as much as she liked her in the past. Qiu Ruoshui hid in the corner nervously. She cried and cursed Ning Bai in her heart. How could she set up her best friend like this? Fengwu hid on the other side with Little Bun in her arms. She glanced at Qiu Ruoshui curiously, wondering why she was so agitated. It was raining heavily. The lightning in the sky seemed to be incessant. The whole sky was lit up by the lightning as if it was daytime. The lightning was also very interesting. They were all concentrated in the sky above the Feng family. Such a strange scene certainly attracted some people's attention. Many people were paying attention to the situation in the Feng family. They were curious about what the Feng family was doing and why they attracted so much lightning. Could it be that the Feng family had gotten some treasure again? It couldn't be an ordinary treasure, since it could attract so much lightning. What could it be? No matter how curious the people outside were, the Feng family was on high alert. The rain suddenly fell. The father and son of the Feng family didn't have time to say anything to Mingxi. They immediately moved to the courtyard where Fengwu lived. Mingxi was afraid that something would happen to Fengwu, so he followed them. The father and son of the Feng family also had time to care about whether Mingxi followed or left. Now there was nothing more important than Fengwu's safety. The mother and son of the Qiu family also rushed to Fengwu's room. Seeing Qiu Ruoshui on Fengwu's bed, they were relieved. They had heard the story that Qiu Ruoshui told. They were afraid that such a big lightning was aimed at Qiu Ruoshui this time. However, as long as Qiu Ruoshui didn't get out of this room, no lightning could hit her sister. It was just that they didn't expect that the power of the death god was not so easy to escape. Qiu Ruoshui suddenly lifted the quilt as if she couldn't control her body. She didn't even wear shoes and wanted to run out of Fengwu's room barefoot. Of course, Madame Qiu and Qiu Ruobai couldn't let her go out. They immediately tried to grab Qiu Ruoshui, who didn't know what happened. Who knew that Qiu Ruoshui seemed to be full of strength at this time. She pushed Qiu Ruobai and Madame Qiu against the door frame. The mother and son of the Qiu family didn't care whether they were injured or not and chased after her. As soon as Qiu Ruoshui came out of the room, she rushed into the courtyard. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.